Sweet.
Okay, go over here.
I'm in?
Go over here. Yeah, you're live.
Alright.
And just full screen that. And then click where it says live. Yeah, click it.
Facing the most pressure from Democratic voters. I've been at nearly every Harris rally so far.
Okay, we don't need to hear all that right now. We don't care about these
You can
people.
just mute it. Like leave it playing live, so when it starts,
Okay, yeah.
just click where it says live right there. Yeah.
Got it. Cool beans. Alright, guys, so we are live. This should start in less than 30 minutes. If you guys haven't gotten any wine, beer, highly recommend you do. I know I'm sending Laz to go get beer.
Go to your account.
Where?
To YouTube, so you can keep track of your live because you're not gonna be able to do it here.
Give me my laptop. It's gonna make my life easier. I don't like using
Your
my phone.
laptop. Where are you gonna?
Right there. Give it to me. Put it here. Yep. I have space.
Well, your laptop's like top. Right?
Yeah. Well, nobody's in just yet. All right. Getting people on right now. Guys, this is going to be a very special event. I'm very excited. The way you guys can see my reactions, they're probably going to be epic. All right. I'm just letting people know that we are live. Leeway.
Where's your charger?
In the table. All right. I'm trying to multitask, guys. Bear with me here. I'm a great multitasker, but not when it comes to technology. It's not my, it's not the vibe. Okay, so is it this one? Because I see two lives here, and I can't tell which one it is. There is two. Oh, you scheduled one, but two of them are showing up.
Okay,
One says.
Delete the one that says upcoming.
Oh, okay. Got it. That was throwing me off. Okay. Here we.
And you got Michigan.
Okay. This way to the right.
I need to plug this, so I need to.
Okay.
That's good.
All right. What is that? Oh, okay, no. It's just I don't know. I feel like when I see commercials now, I'm so weirded out because we don't watch commercials when you don't pay for cable. At least I don't pay for cable. I don't know about y'all, but millennials, we don't really like watching cable for the most parts. All right, I'm letting everybody know to go live because I'm here. Woo! Yeah, I have this cover and it's absolutely terrible for my phone. I have to click the same thing 3 times. Jesus Christ, the patience I have to have.
Whenever you want to start recording, just click start recording. Because right now it's just like you're live, but
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Got it. I mean, we're not gonna record this because this is a debate. There's no reason to record it.
What do you want?
Why do they have to make the lights blue? Why can't the lights be like a green or a yellow?
What do you want? Beer or wine?
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
All right. Surprise me. Surprise me. All right. what are these people saying out of curiosity? What are they saying?
Years, who has a clear record. This campaign is unusual. We don't have a candidate running for office for the first time. The American people remember what it was like under President Trump. We had stable prices, rising wages, a secure border, and peaceful, stable relations around the world.
Yes,
under
we
Kamala
did.
Harris and Joe Biden, we've had record.
Well, I wouldn't say peaceful, but you know, definitely there wasn't as many wars as there are now. So yeah, this guy's clearly a Republican. Senator Tom Cotton from Arkansas or Arkansas. I say Arkansas. I don't know. Tomato.
High inflation. We've had a wide open border. We've had war breaking out everywhere. The American people, late stage, and the lighting and all that is going to be secondary in the minds of most voters, especially those trying to make up their minds to what they hear
I've
from
made
the
up
two
my mind. I
candidates
don't know
about
about
their
y'all,
record.
but I've made up my mind.
People remember that with
My
Donald
mind has been
Trump,
met.
they had good times. They had rising wages. They had stable prices. We had peace and stability. And with Kamala Harris, a dangerous San Francisco liberal, and Joe Biden in the White House, we've had none of that. So I think it's going to be a clear contrast between President Trump and Kamala Harris tonight.
They don't want to call
and
it
the
that.
American
That's
people,
politically incorrect.
starting tonight and over the next 8 weeks, are going to make the decision that they want President Trump back in the White House.
All right, there's Senator Cotton with one side of this debate, very sharply worded. Mary, the other side.
For the other side now, Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro joins us, of course, a key surrogate for the Harris campaign. You heard Senator Cotton there. He says that voters know who Donald Trump is. You've seen the polling. A large slice of voters
There's
say
a lot
they
of skeletons
don't
in his
know enough
closet
about the vice president. Is this her last best chance to reach out to those critical voters, show them who she really is, what she stands for?
She's a fraud.
Look, I'm not sure what world Senator Cotton was living in, but when Donald Trump was in charge, the only thing we had more of in this country was more chaos. And I think under Kamala Harris, you're going to see someone
I'd rather
who's
chaos
compassionate,
than
who cares
inflation
deeply
where I can't
about the welfare of all
afford
Americans,
things,
no
but
matter
okay.
what they look like, where they come from, who they love, who they pray to. An economic message that lifts people up instead of shutting out the middle class. I expect you'll see Kamala Harris speak
Her
not only
economic
about her
message
strong
is
track
joy,
record,
which is, by the
but a
way, the
strong
same
vision
message
for
the Nazis did.
and prosecute the case
That's the little
effectively
research
against
that they do.
Donald
They
Trump
decided to
tonight.
do the same
You
campaigns
mentioned the case
that
against
Nazis
Trump. What about
ran
Joe
on
Biden? You know, how does
during
she
their
go about
campaign
building
back in the
off of
day.
their record, but making clear to voters who are concerned that she won't just be Biden 2.0?
She's worse than Biden. What are
Well,
they
serving
talking
as Joe
about?
Biden's vice president made her fit and ready
she wishes she
to
was Biden
serve on
2.0.
day one. I think it's important that we examine Kamala Harris's positions, her vision, the things she wants to do for this nation. Elections are about the future, and Kamala Harris's vision for the future is a stark contrast to the dangerous vision of the future that Donald Trump has, one of less freedom and more chaos under Donald Trump.
Less freedom. That's why they're the ones who censored.
Thank you so much.
They're the censorship campaign.
Coming up,
Bro, these people are delusional.
Debated Donald Trump
Absolutely delusional. What do you mean?
With tonight's showdown less than 14 minutes away.
It's gonna be really hard to not say something in this debate, but I will. I promise I will not speak at all while the debate is going. But right now, I have to let it all out. Let it out.
This is Impact by Nightline.
Crazy. All right, let's we don't need to hear all that. We don't need to do that. Let's pause that. Let's do that. Okay. YouTube. I'm trying to multitask here. I am not technologically savvy, guys. Fun fact. In case you guys didn't know, I'm not tech savvy. I'm one of those millennials that was raised without technology, which I'm actually not. I'm not mad about that. I'm actually happy that my mom. I think that's good parenting, But whatever. That's just me. All right. I'm going onto my account here because, I want to see it. All right. Okay, cool. All right. So far, I'm hanging in there. Who is this? Is that supposed to be her? Oh no, never mind. I was about to be like, she has really nice hair. That's definitely not Kamala, whatever her name is.
Harris.
Okay. All right, guys. We are almost 10 minutes away from the debate. I think this is going to be the only debate we will have. So, yeah, let's enjoy it as much as possible. Because I doubt she's going to want to do another debate. I think she's going to fail. You know, we'll see. I personally believe she's going to fail. So, we'll find out what happens. We'll find out. I'm multitasking again. You know I'm multitasking when I just randomly just stay quiet. All right. Yeah, I don't think she's going to be victorious in this debate. But she was getting some pretty hardcore debate prep, so who knows? She's really good at memorizing like a bunch of information. I mean, that's what politicians do. She is a career politician, so we'll see. But I have a feeling that Trump's gonna hit her with some Willie Brown. Y'all don't know who Willie Brown is. Y'all should look him up. Willie Brown is the reason why Kamala came up in the political world. And he was a married man. Tisk, tisk, tisk. That's probably why she's so pro-abortion. She don't care if, women got kids. She's a home wrecker. Oh, man. I can't wait for that man to start screaming. At any moment, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. They're going to use something on him, and they're going to be like, listen, if you don't talk, this is going to come out. And he's going to be like, so, yeah. At least that's what I think. Wolf, wolf, wolf. We'll see. I don't know what happened there. I became a wolf for a second there. Wolf, wolf. All right. Sorry, guys. I'm actually really cold. I recently found out that if my camera gets too hot, it like shuts down. So like my AC is at like 60 something and I'm like freezing, but it's okay. It's all right. I'll get through it. Yes. Okay, cool. Who is this lady? Martha Radaz. I don't know who this lady is. I really don't like that everything's all blue. Like, they couldn't have made it blue and red, you know? Like, look at this fat guy. I love this guy. This guy's, he's funny. He's a funny guy.
Times. He says he doesn't prepare, but he actually does. Bring us into that room right now. What's going on with Donald Trump?
Well, look, at this point, he's in the worst hour of his prep because you just have to sit there and wait. And wait for the time to come, and they make you get there early. And so he is there. He's not really being spoken to. A little small talk here and there, but nobody's trying to give him any kind of clues.
So let me ask you the question.
This guy's such a shit talker.
Yeah, let me ask you the question I tried to ask Tom Cotton. He didn't
I feel like the
exactly give
more,
me an answer,
like,
but
I
you
feel
will.
like he gets fatter every time.
Which Trump is going to show up tonight?
Like,
you know what I mean
he needs
by
to
that.
be a part
Which
of the
Trump?
Make America Healthy Again with RFK, bro. This guy
I think at the
desperately
beginning
needs
of the debate, the Trump who will
some
show
health
up
in
will
his
be the
life.
calmer Donald Trump. He knows inherently after the 2020 first debate against Joe Biden that the other Donald Trump is not the one that's a winning formula. The question's going to be, will he be able to continue to maintain that approach through questioning by David and Lindsey and through any comments that Vice President Harris makes in his direction? And that'll be the key to how he performs tonight.
And you and I were talking.
I think he's going to destroy her.
You helped prepare him for those 2016 debates against Hillary Clinton.
And she's going to...
He told you that he had
like
respect for Hillary Clinton, that Hillary Clinton was smart as you were preparing.
Oh,
what about
snap.
Kamala Harris? We hear not the
guys.
same.
What's up?
Well, certainly he's
I
not
can
saying
see you
that
guys.
publicly in any way. And I can tell you that in
y'all
2016,
doing?
he would regularly say during the
Yo.
many debate prep sessions that we had with
AVP,
him,
I saw
that Hillary
that.
Clinton was
I saw that
smart,
video.
that she
That
was
was
a good
dope.
debater, that she was not to be taken lightly. And I don't think there was ever a moment in 2016 where he took her lightly. I do think he took Joe Biden lightly in 2020. And clearly during the prep sessions that I had with him, it was very, very difficult to get him to focus on what Joe Biden might or might not do in that first debate. And I think his performance in part reflected that. So the question's going to be, is what he's saying publicly what he really believes? We know that often
Yes,
with Donald Trump,
he's not
that's performance.
Kamala Harris. Of
But
course,
I
what
will
he says
tell
in
you that
public
in
is what
his
he actually
2016 prep,
believes.
he was serious about getting ready for Hillary Clinton. In his 2020 debate prep, he was completely unserious about
That's
getting
why
ready
he
for Joe
destroyed her in the
Biden.
debate stage.
I think
All right.
performances in both those debates
Because
reflected
he'd be in jail.
that
Come
approach.
on, that's it.
All
That
right,
was it
Chris
for
Christie,
her.
you'll be
That was-
watching
she
with
was
us.
Done.
Martha?
Finito.
And we have about 6 minutes left before the debate, so let's bring in Donna Brazil,
She got
formerly
such
of the
gentle eyes, I'm
DNC,
not
and
gonna lie.
Reince Priebus, the
I
RNC.
swear- I
Welcome
swear
to
all
both of
these
you. And
black
Donna,
women
let's
don't
start
wanna
with
be
you.
black.
You have
They
said
straighten their
that Kamala
hairs
Harris
more
has
than-
to own
I haven't even straightened
the
my hair, bro.
future. But she also has to own the past. So how does she do this?
Look at that. You can tell she
It's
don't want
quite easy.
nobody knowing what type of hair
Because
she really
I do
got.
believe that in talking about the future, you draw from your past. You draw from your past experiences.
Ooh, she got
draws
so
from
much
how she was
Botox on.
raised.
Girl,
the values that was
you
instilled in
definitely
her as
don't
a
wanna
young
be-
lady. Look, she is steady
She don't
on
wanna
her
be
feet,
old.
still in her resolve.
Y eso que los negros, they don't get
tonight
old,
she
they don't
should
get
talk to the
wrinkly.
American people, sit in their living rooms, go to
I
their
hope,
kitchen
I
table,
don't get it.
and say, look, I have some ideas that I want to share with you. There's so much that we have done together over the last 4 years, but here's what I think we can do together over the next 4 years. Be positive in her approach and really remind the American people that we don't want to go back to the chaos and the confusion, the disaster
What are you
that
talking about? She
made,
is
of course, the
confusion.
American
She
people
wants
go out in
fucking
droves in 2020 to fire the
whatever,
former president.
and
Say, I
that-
want to
that
be a
is
president that
confusion.
lead all Americans. I want to keep us
Gender,
strong and secure.
what is it
and
called?
here's the plan that I want to share with you tonight.
What's up, George?
And Donna, I
I'm
of
seeing
course
everybody
meant,
through my left
Biden.
because my laptop is on my
She
left
has
hand
to
side.
own up to
What
the
it
Biden
do, guys?
administration's
Thank you
any
guys for
mistakes they made
joining.
too, and Donald Trump is going to go after her.
We're
on
gonna
that.
watch this
You know,
very
Martha,
soon.
they made mistakes.
so
Donald Trump and Mr.
enjoy.
Pence made mistakes. But you know
Wow.
what? If we focus on our mistakes, we won't focus on all
I,
the good
have
things
a
that we
little
could do
panic
together as
attack as I
Americans.
listen to
I
these
do believe there's something
Marxist
to say
people.
about people who are now able to work.
Bro,
the
she has
people
so
who can
much
buy
Botox
their
on, it's
insulin without
crazy.
paying over
She's not-
$1,000.
look at her face, it doesn't
$35.
move.
There's so much good that she can talk about
It
from the
doesn't
visits that she's made to small towns across this country,
Esta no-
large cities
no
across
quiere
the
ser
country.
negra
Bring
y
us
no quiere
together.
ser
The American
vieja.
people will be led into the future, not dragged back to another era.
Yo, I hope I don't get
And
strikes.
Reince, I
for
want
this.
your thoughts on,
Does
you've
YouTube
also
know
prepped
Spanish stuff? I
Donald
really
Trump
hope
for
it
debates back
doesn't.
in 2016, I believe.
'Cause I'm gonna say
What
some stuff in
Donald
Spanish
Trump
on
do you
purpose just to
think
make
we'll
sure
see
that,
tonight?
YouTube doesn't
Can
catch
he
up to
be
what I'm saying.
disciplined about talking about policies and what kind of president he will be?
Oh man.
Well, he certainly can be. I mean, the reality is Donald Trump doesn't have a lot to lose tonight. I mean, his support has always been almost unmovable. So the second piece
Yeah,
is
her
the
face
honeymoon, I
mostly
think, is
moving. That's what
over
I'm
for
saying.
Kamala
Well,
Harris.
y'all
And you
saw
all
it.
kind of touched on it with Donna. Kamala Harris has to answer for the state of the economy that she took a role in the Biden
That's
administration, the border, you know, her past positions on decriminalizing the border, decriminalizing certain drugs, what her role was in Afghanistan. So really, the spotlight is
She
on
was the
Kamala
last one in the
Harris tonight
room.
because she
I was
played
the
a role in
last
the
one
Biden
in the
administration. She
room.
wants to act like she's not an incumbent.
Like, that's
So
supposed to be
this
something
is where the
like, bro,
focus
you
is
guys-
going to be.
that was
And
terrible.
she's got a
That was
lot to
absolutely
answer for tonight. And I think that's where Donald Trump's focus will be and where it actually should be tonight.
Well, one of the things he wants to do is have female voters look at him. How does he attract female voters after saying things about Kamala Harris? And we'll see how he
I'm a
pronounces
female,
that tonight.
and I vote Trump
Things he
all
said about
the way.
Kamala Harris,
Let's
that she's
go.
dumb as a
Female
rock.
women, we gotta
That's
vote
not
Trump.
really going to attract female
No matter
voters,
what
is
color
it?
you are, you gotta vote Trump.
Yeah, no, it won't. But I also think that just like he did in the first debate against Joe Biden, I think the formula here is to constantly tie Kamala Harris to the Biden administration, which is where Trump is winning against her on the economy, inflation, and all these other problems that we're having,
Everybody's like, be
and then
careful
sit
what you
back
say.
and let her talk. Let her explain herself, her past positions, current positions.
risk it
How
for
does
the
she feel
biscuit,
about
guys,
how
okay? You gotta
Biden
risk
has
it for
done
the
on the
biscuit.
economy? How does she feel about the border?
So I'm gonna look into,
turn it
like,
over and let her talk.
I mean,
Okay,
I'm sure
thanks
what I
so much
said
for
was,
joining us tonight, Donna and
we'll
Rice.
find
We're
out
all staying
if they
tuned.
give me a
Can't wait.
strike or not. I don't
And
think
I have to
so.
say, as we are just a couple of less than 2 minutes away, this is such an extraordinary moment, and especially, Rachel, when you consider that these two people that have been the center of our lives for the last 2 months have never met each other.
Have never even met each other. And Harris said, if you got something to say it to my face. The question tonight, does Donald Trump actually go there? He's questioned her racial identity. He's questioned her intelligence as well.
I'll
Or
go
does he
there,
stick to
all
the
right.
issues?
This is another one. who
Look,
doesn't wanna be
this is the
black.
largest audience
Right
they're
here,
likely going to
with
have in this
straight
race.
hair.
It will be interesting to see if Harris can make clear the stark choice before voters. And where does she decide to land her punches? She can punch hard.
I can say
she
that,
do
bro.
that
Maybe
while
a white
rising
girl
above
can't
the
say
needle
that
and coming
shit,
her way.
but
But
I
first
can
and
say that
foremost,
all
are
the
we going to
way.
see a handshake
Okay.
when the two of them meet for the first time?
We didn't back in 2016
Michaela
when
will
I
agree
did
with
that
me.
debate. We'll stand by to see that
People know who
tonight. But the
Michaela
first
is.
time, side to side, together.
And I have my doubts that we're going to see that handshake, but what we are going to see is a spirited debate and perhaps the most consequential general election debate we have ever seen, because almost certainly going to be the last one. So with the stakes so high, the presidential debate just moments away, we have the entire news division keeping an eye on everything. We are going to be fact-checking on our live blog. It's all going to be happening right here. The
We'll be
debate
fact-checking
now,
your fact checks.
just 10 seconds away, and we will be back
It's
with our
9,
post-game show
guys.
as soon as it's
It's
over. We're going to toss it
starting.
right
Oh my
now
gosh.
to David Muir and Lindsay Davis.
All right, let's.
Tonight, the high-stakes showdown here in Philadelphia between Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump. Their first face-to-face meeting in this presidential election, their first face-to-face meeting ever.
A historic race for president upended just weeks ago. President Biden withdrawing after his last debate. Donald Trump now up against a new opponent.
The candidates separated by the smallest of margins, essentially tied in the polls nationally and in the key battlegrounds, including right here in Pennsylvania, all still very much in play. The ABC News presidential debate starts right now.
This is an
He's a
ABC
good-looking
News
dude.
special. The most consequential moment of this campaign. Kamala Harris.
Together, we will chart a new way forward.
This is Obama 2.0
Donald
over
Trump.
here.
We
Move way
will
forward.
soon be a great nation again.
Face to face. Historic.
Let's
The ABC News presidential debate. Here now.
Yo, this is like
David
this is
Muir
like sports
and
for me,
Lindsay
bro.
Davis.
I'm not a sports girl, so this
Good
is my
evening, I'm
sports.
David Muir, and thank you for joining us for tonight's ABC News presidential debate. We want to welcome viewers watching on ABC and around the world tonight. Vice President Kamala Harris and President Donald Trump are just moments away from taking the stage in this unprecedented race for president.
And I'm Lindsay Davis. Tonight's meeting could be the most consequential event of their campaigns, with Election Day now less than 2 months away. For Vice President Kamala Harris, this is her first debate since President Biden withdrew from the race on July 21st. Of course, that decision followed his debate against President Donald Trump in June. Since then, this race has taken on an entirely new dynamic.
I
And
love
that brings
her
us to the
outfit,
rules of
bro.
tonight's
She
debate.
looking
90 minutes with
spiffy.
2 commercial breaks. No topics or
I'm not gonna
questions have
lie.
been
I don't
shared with
like
the campaigns. The candidates will have
what's
2
going
minutes
on
to
the
answer
shoulders, though.
questions,
I don't know,
and
it
this is
looks a
the
little
clock.
too, like,
That's what they'll be seeing. 2 minutes for rebuttals
that,
and 1 minute for follow-ups,
Albanese,
clarifications, or responses.
what's up,
Their microphones will only be
Albanese? I
turned on when it's
see
their turn to
you.
speak. No
Albanese,
pre-written
you
notes
joining me
allowed.
next Sunday,
There is no
bruh.
audience here tonight in
You're
this
gonna be
hall
my
at the National
guest.
Constitution
I'm excited
Center.
for
This
that.
is an intimate setting for
Seriously,
2
look at
candidates
this lady.
who
She
have
looks
never met.
weird.
President
You see what I'm
Trump
talking about
won
with
the
the
coin
little
toss. He chose
shoulder
to deliver
things,
the final
shoulder
closing
pads? I don't
statement
know.
of the evening.
It-
Vice President Harris
I like the
selected
outfit. I
podium
just don't
to
like
the
the
right.
shoulder pads.
So let's
It's
now
not
welcome the
it's not my vibe.
candidates to the stage. Vice President Kamala Harris and President Donald Trump.
It's weird.
Kamala Harris. Let's have a good debate.
See, have fun.
Thank you.
She got real
Welcome
close
to
to
you
him.
both. It's wonderful to have you. It's an honor to
What
have you
happened
both
to
here
6
tonight.
feet apart?
Good evening. We are looking forward to a spirited and thoughtful debate.
So let's get started. I want to begin tonight with the issue that voters repeatedly say is their #1 issue, and that is the economy and the cost of living in this country. Vice President Harris, you and President Trump were elected 4 years ago, and your opponent on the stage here tonight often asks his supporters, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? When it comes to the economy, do you believe Americans are better off than they were 4 years ago?
So I was raised as a middle-class kid, and I am actually the only person on this stage who has a plan that is about lifting up the middle class and working people of America. I believe in the ambition, the aspirations, the dreams of the American people. And that is why I imagine and have actually a plan to build what I call an opportunity economy. Because here's the thing. We know that we have a shortage of homes and housing, and the cost of housing is too expensive for far too many people. We know that young families need support to raise their children, and I intend on extending a tax cut for those families of $6,000, which is the largest child tax credit that we have given in a long time, so that those young families can afford to buy a crib, buy a car seat, buy clothes for their children. My passion, one of them, is small businesses. My mother raised my sister and me, but there was a woman who helped raise us. We call her our second mother. She was a small business owner. I love our small businesses. My plan is to give a $50,000 tax deduction to start up small businesses, knowing they are part of the backbone of America's economy. My opponent, on the other hand, his plan is to do what he has done before, which is to provide a tax cut for billionaires and big corporations, which will result in $5 trillion to America's deficit. My opponent has a plan that I call the Trump's sales tax, which would be a 20% tax on everyday goods that you rely on to get through the month. Economists have said that Trump sales tax would actually result for middle-class families in about $4,000 more a year because of his policies and his ideas about what should be the backs of middle-class people paying for tax cuts for billionaires.
President Trump, I'll give you 2 minutes.
First of all, I have no sales tax. That's an incorrect statement. She knows that. We're doing tariffs on other countries. Other countries are going to finally, after 75 years, pay us back for all that we've done for the world. And the tariff will be substantial in some cases. I took in billions and billions of dollars, as you know, from China. In fact, they never took the tariff off because it was so much money they can't. It would totally destroy everything that they've set out to do. They're taking in billions of dollars from China and other places. They've left the tariffs on. When I had it, I had tariffs, and yet I had no inflation. Look, we've had a terrible economy because inflation which is really known as a country buster. It breaks up countries. We have inflation like very few people have ever seen before, probably the worst in our nation's history. We were at 21%, but that's being generous because many things are 50, 60, 70, and 80% higher than they were just a few years ago. This has been a disaster for people, for the middle class, but for every class. On top of that, we have millions of people pouring into our country from prisons and jails, from mental institutions and insane asylums, and they're coming in and they're taking jobs that are occupied right now by African Americans and Hispanics, and also unions. Unions are going to be affected very soon. And you see what's happening. You see what's happening with towns throughout the United States. You look at Springfield, Ohio. You look at Aurora in Colorado. They are taking over the towns. They're taking over buildings. They're going in violently. These are the people that Xi and Biden led into our country, and they're destroying our country. They're dangerous. They're at the highest level of criminality, and we have to get them out. We have to get them out fast. I created one of the greatest economies in the history of our country. I'll do it again and even better.
We are going to get to immigration and border security during this debate, but I would like to let Vice President Harris respond on the economy here.
Well, I would love to. Let's talk about what Donald Trump left us. Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment since the Great Depression. Donald Trump left us the worst public health epidemic in a century. Donald Trump left us the worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War. And what we have done is clean up Donald Trump's mess. What we have done and what I intend to do is build on what we know are the aspirations and the hopes of the American people. But I'm going to tell you all in this debate tonight, you're going to hear from the same old tired playbook, a bunch of lies, grievances, and name-calling. What you're going to hear tonight is a detailed and dangerous plan called Project 2025 that the former president intends on implementing if he were elected again. I believe very strongly that the American people want a president who understands the importance of bringing us together, knowing we have so much more in common than what separates us. And I pledge to you to be a president for all Americans.
President Trump, will give you a minute here to respond.
Number one, I have nothing to do, as you know, and as she knows better than anyone, I have nothing to do with Project 2025. That's out there. I haven't read it. I don't want to read it purposely. I'm not going to read it. This was a group of people that got together. They came up with some ideas, I guess some good, some bad, but it makes no difference. I have nothing to do. Everybody knows I'm an open book. Everybody knows what I'm going to do. Cut taxes very substantially and create a great economy like I did before. We had the greatest economy. We got hit with a pandemic. And the pandemic was not since 1917, where 100 million people died, has there been anything like it. We did a phenomenal job with the pandemic. We handed them over a country where the economy and where the stock market was higher than it was before the pandemic came in. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. We made ventilators for the entire world. We got gowns, we got masks, we did things that nobody thought possible. And people give me credit for rebuilding the military. They give me credit for a lot of things, but not enough credit for the great job we did with the pandemic. But the only jobs they got were bounce back jobs. These were jobs bounced back, and it bounced back and it went to their benefit. But I was the one that created them. They know it, and so does everybody else.
Vice President Harris, I'll let you respond.
So Donald Trump has no plan for you. And when you look at his economic plan, it's all about tax breaks for the richest people. I am offering what I describe as an opportunity economy, and the best economists in our country, if not the world, have reviewed our relative plans for the future of America. What Goldman Sachs has said is that Donald Trump's plan would make the economy worse, mine would strengthen the economy. What the Wharton School has said is Donald Trump's plan would actually explode the deficit. 16 Nobel laureates have described his economic plan as something that would increase inflation and by the middle of next year would invite a recession. You just have to look at where we are and where we stand on the issues. And I'd invite you to know that Donald Trump actually has no plan for you because he is more interested in defending himself than he is in looking out for you.
That's just a soundbite. They gave her that to say. Look, I went to the Wharton School of Finance, and many of those professors, the top professors, think my plan is a brilliant plan. It's a great plan. It's a plan that's going to bring up our worth, our value as a country. It's going to make people want to be able to go and work and create jobs and create a lot of good, solid money for our country. And just to finish off, she doesn't have a plan. She copied Biden's plan, and it's like 4 sentences, like run, spot, run. 4 sentences that are just, oh, we'll try and lower taxes. She doesn't have a plan. Take a look at her plan. She doesn't have a plan.
Mr. President, I do want to drill down on something you both brought up. The Vice President brought up your tariffs. You responded, and let's drill down on this, because your plan is what she calls is essentially a national sales tax. Your proposal calls for tariffs, as you pointed out here, on foreign imports across the board. You recently said that you might double your plan, imposing tariffs up to 20% on goods coming into this country. As you know, many economists say that with tariffs at that level, costs are then passed on to the consumer. Vice President Harris has argued it'll mean higher prices on gas, food, clothing, medication, arguing it costs the typical family nearly $4,000 a year. Do you believe Americans can afford higher prices because of tariffs?
They're not going to have higher prices. What's going to have, and who's going to have higher prices, is China and all of the countries that have been ripping us off for years. I was the only president ever. China was paying us hundreds of billions of dollars, and so were other countries. And, you know, if she doesn't like them, they should have gone out and they should have immediately cut the tariffs. But those tariffs are there 3.5 years now under their administration. We are going to take in billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars. I had no inflation, virtually no inflation. They had the highest inflation perhaps in the history of our country, because I've never seen a worse period of time. People can't go out and buy cereal or bacon or eggs or anything else. The people of our country are absolutely dying with what they've done. They've destroyed the economy. And all you have to do is look at a poll. The polls say 80 and 85 and even 90% that the Trump economy was great, that their economy was terrible.
Vice President Harris, I do want to ask for your response, and you heard what the president said there, because the Biden administration did keep a number of the Trump tariffs in place. So how do you respond?
Well, let's be clear that the Trump administration resulted in a trade deficit, one of the highest we've ever seen in the history of America. He invited trade wars. You want to talk about his deal with China? What he ended up doing is, under Donald Trump's presidency, he ended up selling American chips to China to help them improve and modernize their military, basically sold us out, when a policy about China should be in making sure the United States of America wins the competition for the 21st century, which means focusing on the details of what that requires, focusing on relationships with our allies, focusing on investing in American-based technology so that we win the race on AI, on quantum computing, focusing on what we need to do to support America's workforce so that we don't end up having, on the short end of the stick, in terms of workers' rights. But what Donald Trump did, let's talk about this, with COVID, is he actually thanked President Xi for what he did during COVID. Look at his tweet. Thank you, President Xi, exclamation point, when we know that Xi was responsible for lacking and not giving us transparency about the origins of COVID.
President Trump, I'll let you respond.
First of all, they bought their chips from Taiwan. We hardly make chips anymore because of philosophies like they have and policies like they have. I don't say her because she has no policy. Everything that she believed 3 years ago and 4 years ago is out the window. She's going to my philosophy now. In fact, I was going to send her a MAGA hat. She's gone to my philosophy. But if she ever got elected, she'd change it. And it will be the end of our country. She's a Marxist. Everybody knows she's a Marxist.
Yep.
Her father's a Marxist professor in economics, and he taught her well. But when you look at what she's done to our country, and when you look at these millions and millions of people that are pouring into our country monthly, where it's, I believe, 21 million people, not the 15 that people say, and I think it's a lot higher than the 21. That's bigger than New York State pouring in. And just look at what they're doing to our country. They're criminals. Many of these people coming in are criminals. And that's bad for our economy, too. You know, you mentioned before, we'll talk about immigration later. Well, bad immigration is the worst thing that can happen to our economy. They have, and she has, destroyed our country with policy that's insane. Almost policy that you'd say they have to hate our country.
President Trump, thank you. Lindsay?
I want to turn to the issue of abortion. President Trump, you've often touted that you were able to kill Roe v. Wade. Last year, you said that you were proud to be the most pro-life president in American history. Then last month, you said that your administration would be great for women and their reproductive rights. In your home state of Florida, you surprised many with regard to your 6-week abortion ban because you initially had said that it was too short. And you said, quote, I'm going to be voting that we need more than 6 weeks. But then the very next day, you reversed course and said you would vote to support the 6-week ban. Vice President Harris says that women shouldn't trust you on the issue of abortion because you've changed your position so many times. Therefore, why should they trust you?
Well, the reason I'm doing that vote is because the plan is, as you know, the vote is, they have abortion in the 9th month. They even have, and you can look at the governor of West Virginia, the previous governor of West Virginia, not the current governor, who's doing an excellent job, but the governor before, he said the baby will be born and we will decide what to do with the baby. In other words, we'll execute the baby. And that's why I did that, because that predominates, because they're radical. The Democrats are radical in that. And her vice presidential pick, which I think was a horrible pick, by the way, for our country, because he is really out of it. But her vice presidential pick says abortion in the 9th month is absolutely fine. He also says execution after birth. It's execution, no longer abortion, because the baby is born, is okay. And that's not okay with me, hence the vote. But what I did is something for 52 years. They've been trying to get Roe v. Wade into the states. And through the genius and heart and strength of 6 Supreme Court justices, we were able to do that. Now, I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and life of the mother. I believe strongly in it. Ronald Reagan did also. 85% of Republicans do. Exceptions. Very important. But we were able to get it, and now states are voting on it. And for the first time, you're going to see, look, this is an issue that's torn our country apart for 52 years. Every legal scholar, Every
guys are
Democrat,
killing
every
me in the chat.
Republican, liberal, conservative, they all wanted this issue to be brought back to the states where the people could vote. And that's what happened. Now, Ohio, the vote was somewhat liberal. Kansas, the vote was somewhat liberal, much more liberal than people would have thought. But each individual state is voting. It's the vote of the people now. It's not tied up in the federal government.
Yep.
I did a great service in doing it. It took courage to do it. And the Supreme Court had great courage in doing it. And I give tremendous credit to those 6 justices.
There is no state in this country where it is legal to kill a baby after it's born. Madam Vice President, I want to get your response to President Trump.
Well, as I said, you're going to hear a bunch of lies, and that's not actually a surprising fact. Let's understand how we got here. Donald Trump hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade. And they did exactly as he intended. And now in over 20 states, there are Trump abortion bans, which make it criminal for a doctor or nurse to provide health care. In one state, it provides prison for life. Trump abortion bans that make no exception even for rape and incest, which understand what that means. A survivor of a crime of violation to their body does not have the right to make a decision about what happens to their body next. That is immoral. And one does not have to abandon their faith or deeply held beliefs to agree. The government, and Donald Trump certainly, should not be telling a woman what to do with her body.
That's
I have
Roe v.
talked
Wade,
with
though.
women around our country. You want to talk about this is what people wanted? Pregnant women who want to carry a pregnancy to term, suffering from a miscarriage, being denied care in an emergency room because the healthcare providers are afraid they might go to jail, and she's bleeding out in a car in the parking lot.
That's a lie.
She didn't want that. Her husband didn't want that.
That's
a 12 or 13-year-old survivor of incest being forced to carry a pregnancy to term? They don't want that. And I pledge to you, when Congress passes a bill to put back in place the protections of Roe v. Wade, as President of the United States, I will proudly sign it into law. But understand,
You're not gonna
if
win.
Donald Trump were to be reelected, he will sign a national abortion ban.
No, he won't.
Understand, in his Project 2025, there would be a national abortion, a monitor that would be monitoring
Second
your
time she says
pregnancies,
Project 2025.
your
We're gonna count.
miscarriages. I think the American people believe that certain freedoms, in particular the freedom to make decisions about one's own body, should not be made by the government.
Thank you, Vice President Harris.
Well, there she goes again. It's a lie. I'm not signing a ban, and there's no reason to sign a ban because we've gotten what everybody wanted.
Exactly.
Democrats, Republicans, and everybody else, and every legal scholar wanted it to be brought back into the states, and the states are voting. And it may take a little time, but for 52 years, this issue has torn our country apart, and they've wanted it back in the states. And I did something that nobody thought was possible. The states are now voting. What she says is an absolute lie. And as far as the abortion ban, no, I'm not in favor of abortion ban, but it doesn't matter because this issue has now been taken over by the states.
Would you veto a national abortion ban if it
Well,
came
I
to your
won't
desk?
have to because, again, two things.
people are
Number one,
retarded.
she said she'll go back to Congress. She'll never get the vote. It's impossible for her to get the vote, especially now with the 50-50 and essentially 50-50 in both Senate and the House. She's not going to get the vote. She can't get the vote. She won't even come close to it. So it's just talk. You know what it reminds me of? When they said they're going to get student loans terminated, and it ended up being a total catastrophe. The student loans, and then her, I think probably her boss, if you call him a boss, he spends all his time on the beach. But look, her boss went out and said, we'll do it again. We'll do it a different way. And he went out, got rejected again by the Supreme Court. So all these students got taunted with this whole thing about this whole idea. And how unfair that would have been, part of the reason they lost, to the millions and millions of people that had to pay off their student loans. They didn't get it for free. Yep. But they were saying it's the same way that they talked about that they talk about abortion.
But if I could just get a yes or no, because your running mate, J.D. Vance, has said that you would veto it if it did come to your desk.
Well, I didn't discuss it with J.D. In all fairness, J.D., and I don't mind if he has a certain view, but I think he was speaking for me, but I really didn't. Look, we don't have to discuss it because she'd never be able to get it, just like she couldn't get student loans. They couldn't get student loans. They didn't even come close to getting student loans. They taunted young people and a lot of other people that had loans. They can never get this approved. So it doesn't matter what she says about going to Congress. Well, wonderful. Let's go to Congress. Do it. But the fact is that for years, they wanted to get it out of Congress and out of the federal government. And we did something that everybody said couldn't be done. And now you have a vote of the people on abortion.
Vice President Harris, I want to give you your time to respond. But I do want to ask, would you support any restrictions on a woman's right to an abortion?
I absolutely support reinstating the protections of Roe v. Wade. And as you rightly mentioned, nowhere in America is a woman carrying a pregnancy to term and asking for an abortion. That is not happening. It's insulting to the women of America. And understand what has been happening under Donald Trump's abortion bans.
How would you know?
Couples who pray and dream of having a family are being denied IVF treatments. What is happening in our country? Working people, working women who are working 1 or 2 jobs, who can barely afford childcare as it is, have to travel to another state to get on a plane sitting next to strangers to go and get the health care she needs. Barely can afford to do it, and what you are putting her through is unconscionable. And the people of America have not, the majority of Americans believe in a woman's right to make decisions about her own body, and that is why in every state where this issue has been on the ballot, in red and blue states both, the people of America have voted for freedom.
Vice President Harris,
excuse me, I have to respond. Another lie. It's another lie. I have been a leader on IVF, which is fertilization. The IVF, I have been a leader. In fact, when they got a very negative decision on IVF from the Alabama courts, I saw the people of Alabama and the legislature 2 days later voted it in. I've been a leader on it. They know that, and everybody else knows it. I have been a leader on fertilization, IVF. And the other thing, you should ask, will she allow abortion in the 8th month, 9th month, 7th month?
Come on.
Okay, would you do that? Why don't you ask her that question?
Why don't you answer the question? Would you
because
veto?
Under Roe v. Wade,
answer the question, would you veto?
You could do abortions in the 7th month, the 8th month, the 9th month,
not true.
and probably after birth.
answer the question.
Just look at the governor, former governor of Virginia. The governor of Virginia said, we put the baby aside and then we determine what we want to do with the baby.
President Trump, thank you.
We're going to turn now to immigration and border security. We know it's an issue that's important to Republicans, Democrats, voters across the board in this country. Vice President Harris, you were tasked by President Biden with getting to the root causes of migration from Central America. We know that illegal border crossings reached a record high in the Biden administration. This past June, President Biden imposed tough new asylum restrictions. We know the numbers since then have dropped significantly. But my question to you tonight is, why did the administration wait until 6 months before the election to act? And would you have done anything differently from President Biden on this?
So I'm the only person on this stage who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations for the trafficking of guns, drugs, and human beings. And let me say that the United States Congress, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Senate, came up with a border security bill which I supported. And that bill would have put 1,500 more border agents on the border to help those folks who are working there right now overtime trying to do their job. It would have allowed us to stem the flow of fentanyl coming into the United States. I know there are so many families watching tonight who have been personally affected by the surge of fentanyl in our country.
That's her fault.
That bill would have put more resources to allow us to prosecute transnational criminal organizations for trafficking in guns, drugs, and human beings. But you know what happened to that bill? Donald Trump got on the phone, called up some folks in Congress, and said, kill the bill. And you know why? Because he'd prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem.
The problem
and
was already fixed
understand,
the wall.
this comes at a time where the people of our country actually need a leader who engages in solutions, who actually addresses the problems at hand. But what we have in the former president is someone who would prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And I'll tell you something, he's going to talk about immigration a lot tonight, even when it's not the subject that is being raised. And I'm going to actually do something really unusual, and I'm going to invite you to attend one of Donald Trump's rallies, because it's a really interesting thing to watch. You will see during the course of his rallies, he talks about fictional characters like Hannibal Lecter. He will talk about windmills cause cancer. And what you will also notice is that people start leaving his rallies early out of exhaustion and boredom. And I will tell you, the one thing you will not hear him talk about is you. You will not hear him talk about your needs, your dreams, and your desires. And I'll tell you, I believe you deserve a president who actually puts you first, and I pledge to you that I will.
Vice
We
President
don't believe
Harris,
you,
thank you.
Kamala,
President Trump,
sorry.
on that point, I want to get your response.
Well, I would like to respond.
Let me just ask, though, why did you try to kill that bill, and successfully so? That would have put thousands of additional agents and officers on the border.
First, let me respond as to the
Please.
rallies. She said people start leaving. People don't go to her rallies. There's no reason to go. And the people that do go, she's bussing them in and paying them to be there, and then showing them in a different light. So she can't talk about that. People don't leave my rallies. We have the biggest rallies, the most incredible rallies in the history of politics. That's because people want to take their country back. Our country is being lost. We're a failing nation. And it happened 3.5 years ago. And what's going on here, you're going to end up in World War III, just to go into another subject. What they have done to our country by allowing these millions and millions of people to come into our country, and look at what's happening to the towns all over the United States. And a lot of towns don't want to talk. It's not going to be Aurora or Springfield. A lot of towns don't want to talk about it because they're so embarrassed by it. In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there.
This is
and
true.
this is
Yep.
what's happening in our country, and it's a shame. As far as rallies are concerned, as far as the reason they go is they like what I say. They want to bring our country back. They want to make America great again. It's a very simple phrase, make America great again. She's destroying this country, and if she becomes president, this country doesn't have a chance of success. Not only success, we'll end up being Venezuela on steroids.
I just want to clarify here. You bring up Springfield, Ohio, and ABC News did reach out to the city manager there. He told us there have been no credible reports of specific claims of pets being harmed, injured, or abused by individuals within the immigrant community.
Well,
All
I've
this,
seen people on television.
Let me just say here, this is the
people on television say my dog was taken and used for food. So maybe he said that, and maybe that's a good thing to say for a city manager.
I'm not taking this from
but
television.
The people are
I'm
on
taking it from
television
the city
saying
manager.
their dog was eaten by the people that went there.
Again, the Springfield city manager says there's no evidence of that. Vice
We'll
President
find
Harris,
out.
I'll let you respond to the rest of what you've
She's
heard.
such an actress. Look at her
Talk
face.
about
She tries to be all look all innocent.
You know, this is, I think, one of the reasons why in this election I actually have the endorsement of 200 Republicans who have formally worked with President Bush, Mitt Romney, and John McCain, including the endorsement of former Vice President Dick Cheney and Congress member Liz Cheney. And if you want to really know the inside track on who the former president is, if he didn't make it clear already, just ask people who have worked with him. His former chief of staff, a 4-star general, has said he has contempt for the Constitution of the United States. His former national security advisor has said he is dangerous and unfit. His former Secretary of Defense has said the nation, the Republic, would never survive another Trump term.
That's a lie.
And when we listen to this kind of rhetoric, when the issues that affect the American people are not being addressed, I think the choice is clear in this election.
No, it's
President
not.
Trump will give you a quick minute to
He's
respond.
the one. He's the choice.
Thank
It's
you,
very clear.
because
You're right.
When I hear that, see, I'm a different kind of a person. I fired most of those people. Not so graciously. They did bad things or a bad job. I fired them. They never fired one person. They didn't fire anybody having to do with Afghanistan and the Taliban and the 13 people whose were just killed, viciously and violently killed. And I got to know the parents and the family. They didn't fire. They should have fired all those generals, all those top people, because that was one of the most incompetently handled situations anybody has ever seen. So when somebody does a bad job, I fire him. And you take a guy like Esper, he was no good, I fired him, so he writes a book. Another one writes a book, because with me they can write books, with nobody else can they. But They have done such a poor job, and they never fire anybody. Look at the economy. Look at the inflation. They didn't fire any of their economists. They have the same people. That's a good way not to have books written about you. But just to finish, I got more votes than any Republican in history by far. In fact, I got more votes than any president, sitting president, in history by far.
Let me continue on immigration. It was what you wanted to talk about earlier, so let's get back to your deportation proposal that the vice president has reacted to as well. President Trump, you call this the largest domestic deportation operation in the history of our country. You say you would use the National Guard. You say if things get out of control, you'd have no problem using the U.S. military.
Yes.
You also said you would use local police. How would you deport 11 million undocumented immigrants? I know you believe that number is much higher. Take us through this. What does this look like? Will authorities be going door to door in this country?
Yeah, it is much higher because of them. They allowed criminals, many millions of criminals. They allowed terrorists. They allowed common street criminals. They allowed people to come in, drug dealers, to come into our country. And they're now in the United States and told by their countries like Venezuela, don't ever come back or we're going to kill you. Do you know that crime in Venezuela and crime in countries all over the world is way down? You know why? Because they've taken their criminals off the street and they've given them to her to put into our country. And this will be one of the greatest mistakes in history for them to allow, and I think they probably did it because they think they're going to get votes, but it's not worth it because they're destroying the fabric of our country by what they've done. There's never been anything done like this at all. They've destroyed the fabric of our country. Millions of people let in, and all over the world, crime is down all over the world except here. Crime here is up and through the roof. Despite their fraudulent statements that they made, crime in this country is through the roof. And we have a new form of crime. It's called migrant crime. And it's happening at levels that nobody thought possible.
President Trump, as you know, the FBI says overall violent crime is actually coming down in this country. But Vice President Harris,
the FBI they were defrauding statements. They didn't include the worst cities. They didn't include the cities with the worst crime. It was a fraud. Just like their number of 818,000 jobs that they said they created turned out to be a fraud.
And all the kids that went missing.
I'll let you respond, Vice President Harris.
Well, I think this is so rich.
Very important.
Coming from someone
She's
who
a
has
human
been
trafficker,
prosecuted
a legal human trafficker
for national security crimes, economic crimes, election interference, has been found liable for sexual assault, and his next big court appearance is in November at his own criminal sentencing.
Let's go.
And let's be clear where each person stands on the issue of what is important about respect for the rule of law and respect for law enforcement. The former vice president called for defunding federal law enforcement, 45,000 agents.
She's the one who defunded. She wanted to defund
on the day
police.
after he was arraigned on 34 felony counts. So let's talk about what is important in this race. It is important that we move forward, that we turn the page on this same old tired rhetoric and address the needs of the American people, address what we need to do about the housing shortage, which I have a plan for, address what we must do to support our small businesses, address bringing down the price of groceries. But frankly, the American people are exhausted with this same old tired playbook.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
He's like,
Excuse me.
Okay, sure.
Every one of those cases was started by them against their political opponent. And I'm winning most of them, and I will win the rest on appeal. And you saw that with the decision that came down just recently from the Supreme Court. I'm winning most of them. But those are cases, it's called weaponization. Never happened in this country. They weaponized the Justice Department. Every one of those cases was involved with the DOJ, from Atlanta and Fani Willis to the Attorney General of New York and the DA in New York. Every one of those cases. And then they say, oh, he's a criminal. They're the ones that made them go after me. By the way, Joe Biden was found essentially guilty on the documents case. And what happened in my documents case? They said, oh, that's the toughest of them all. A complete and total victory. 2 months ago, it was thrown out. It's weaponization, and they used it, and it's never happened in this country. They used it to try and win an election.
President
They're
Trump,
fake cases.
President Trump, thank you.
Losers. They
A really
can't win
quick response here,
naturally.
Vice President Harris, on this notion of weaponization of the Justice Department.
Well, let's talk about extreme and understand the context in which this election in 2024 is taking place. The United States Supreme Court recently ruled that the former president would essentially be immune from any misconduct if he were to enter the White House again. Understand,
That's
this
why he
is
has to go
someone
in.
who has openly said he would terminate, I'm quoting, terminate the Constitution of the United States, that he would weaponize
What?
the Department of Justice against his
What?
political enemies. Someone who has openly expressed
Oh, hell
disdain
no.
for members of our military. Understand what it would mean if Donald Trump were back in the White House with no guardrails. Because certainly we know now the court won't stop him. We know J.D. Vance is not going to stop him. It's up to the American people.
Vice President
stop
Harris,
him.
thank you. Lindsay?
Vice President Harris, in your last
I
run
can't
for
believe
president.
this bitch just said that.
This is the one that weaponized, not me. She weaponized. I probably took a bullet to the head because of the things that they say about me.
Exactly.
They talk about democracy. I'm a threat to democracy. They're the threat to democracy with a
President
fake
Trump.
Russia investigation
We do have a lot
that
to get.
went nowhere.
We have a lot to get to. Lindsay?
I can't
Vice
believe she
President
said
Harris,
that.
in your last run for president, you said you
that-
wanted to ban fracking. Now you don't. You wanted mandatory government buyback programs for assault weapons. Now your campaign says you don't. You supported decriminalizing border crossings. Now you're taking a harder line. I know you say that your values have not changed. So then why have so many of your policy positions changed?
Because she
So
doesn't believe in anything.
my values have not changed, and I'm going to discuss at least every point that you've made. But in particular, let's talk about fracking because we're here in Pennsylvania. I made that very clear in 2020. I will not ban fracking. I have not banned fracking as Vice President of the United States. And in fact, I was the tie-breaking vote on the Inflation Reduction Act, which opened new leases for fracking. My position is that we have got to invest in diverse sources of energy so we reduce our reliance on foreign oil. We have had the largest increase in domestic oil production in history because of an approach that recognizes that we cannot over-rely on foreign oil. As it relates to my values, let me tell you, I grew up a middle-class kid raised by a hardworking mother.
That's a lie.
Who worked and saved and was able to buy our first
That
home
was a
when I
lie.
was
She
a
was privileged in
teenager.
Canada.
The values I bring to the importance of home ownership, knowing not everybody got handed $400 million on a silver platter and then
Oh,
filed
what a
bankruptcy 6
hater.
times,
Hater.
is a value that I bring to my work to say we are going to
Fucking
work with the
Marxist.
private sector and home builders to increase 3 million homes, increase by 3 million homes by the end of my first term. My work that is related to having a friend when I was in high school who was sexually assaulted by her stepfather. And my focus then on protecting women and children from violent crime is based on a value that is deeply grounded in the importance of standing up for those who are most vulnerable. My work that is about protecting Social Security and Medicare is based on long-standing work that I have done, protecting seniors from scams. My values have not changed. And what is important is that there is a president who actually brings values and a perspective that is about lifting people up and not beating people down and
poor,
name-calling.
poor.
The true measure of the leader
She doesn't
is
like
the
bullies.
leader who actually understands the strength is not in beating people down, it's in lifting people up. I intend to be that president.
You can tell she
President
never
Trump,
had
you're
children.
First of all, I wasn't given $400 million. I wish I was. My father was a Brooklyn builder, Brooklyn, Queens, and a great father, and I learned a lot from him. But I was given a fraction of that, a tiny fraction, and I've built it into many, many billions of dollars, many, many billions.
But it
and
takes
when people
talent
see it, they
that
are
she doesn't
even
have.
surprised. So we don't have to talk about that. Fracking, she's been against it for 12 years. Defund the police, she's been against that forever. She gave all that stuff up very wrongly, very horribly, and everybody's laughing at it, okay? They're all laughing at it. She gave up at least 12 and probably 14 or 15 different policies. Like, she was big on defund the police. In Minnesota, she went out, wait a minute, I'm
What
talking
did you
now.
say no for, bitch?
You don't
That's
mind,
what you said.
please. Does that sound familiar? She went out.
Oh, she's in shock now.
She went out in Minnesota.
That's right, girl.
And wanted to let criminals that killed people, that burned down Minneapolis, she went out and raised money to get them out of jail. She did things that nobody would ever think of. Now she wants to do transgender operations on illegal aliens that are in prison. This is a radical left liberal that would do this. She wants to confiscate your guns, and she will never allow fracking in Pennsylvania. If she won the election, fracking in Pennsylvania will end on day one. Just to finish, one thing so important in my opinion. So I got the oil business going like nobody has ever done before. When they took over, they got rid of it, started getting rid of it, and the prices were going up the roof. They immediately let these guys go to where they were. I would have been 5 times, 4 times, 5 times higher, because you're talking about 3.5 years ago. They got it up to where I was because they had no choice, because the prices of energy were quadrupling and doubling. You saw what happened to gasoline. So they said, let's go back to Trump. But if she won the election, the day after that election, they'll go back to destroying our country, and oil will be dead, fossil fuel will be dead, we'll go back to windmills, and we'll go back to solar, where they need a whole desert to get some energy to come out of it. You ever see a solar plant? By the way, I'm a big fan of solar, but they take 400, 500 acres of desert soil.
Trump, we have a
These
lot
are
of
not good
issues
things
that
for
we
the
have to get to.
environment that she
We're out of time.
understands.
Thank you.
Lindsay, thank you. We have an election in just 56 days. And I want to talk about the peaceful transfer of power, which, of course, we all know is a cornerstone of our democracy, and the role of a president in a moment of crisis. Mr. President, on January 6th, you told your supporters to march to the Capitol. You said you would be right there with them. The country and the world saw what played out at the Capitol that day, the officers coming under attack. Aides in the West Wing say you watched it unfold on television off the Oval Office. You did send out tweets, but it was more than 2 hours before you sent out that video message telling your supporters to go home. Is there anything you regret about what you did on that day?
You just said a thing that isn't covered. Peacefully and patriotically, I said during my speech, not later on. Peacefully and patriotically. Yep. And nobody on the other side was killed. Ashley Babbitt was shot by an out-of-control police officer that should have never, ever shot her. It's a disgrace. But we didn't do this group of people that have been treated so badly. I ask, what about all the people that are pouring into our country and killing people that she allowed to pour in? She was the border czar, remember that. She was the border czar.
Even though she
doesn't want to be called the border czar because she's embarrassed by the border. In fact, she said at the beginning, oh, I'm surprised you're not talking about the border yet. That's because she knows what a bad job they've done. What about those people? When are they going to be prosecuted? When are these people from countries all over the world, not just South America, they're coming in from all over the world, David, all over the world, and crime rates are down all over the world because of it.
But let me just ask you,
David, when are those people going to be prosecuted? When are the people that burned down Minneapolis going to be prosecuted? Or in Seattle, they went into Seattle, they took over a big percentage of the city of Seattle. When are those people going to be prosecuted?
Exactly.
But let me just ask
you. You might ask her that question.
You were the president. You were watching it unfold on television. It's a very simple question as we move forward toward another election. Is there anything you regret about what you did on that day? Yes or no?
I had nothing to do with that other than they asked me to make a speech. I showed up for a speech. I said, I think it's going to be big. I went to Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington, D.C., and the mayor put it back in writing, as you know. I said, you know, this is going to be a very big rally or whatever you want to call it. And again, it wasn't done by me. It was done by others. I said, I'd like to give you 10,000 National Guard or soldiers. They rejected me. Nancy Pelosi rejected me. It was just 2 weeks ago. Her daughter has a tape of her saying she is fully responsible for what happened. They want to get rid of that tape. It would have never happened if Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington did their jobs. I wasn't responsible for security. Nancy Pelosi was responsible. She didn't do her job.
The question was about you as president, not about former Speaker Pelosi, but I do want Vice President Harris to respond here.
I was at the Capitol on January 6th. I was the vice president-elect. I was also an acting senator. I was there. And on that day, the President of the United States incited a violent mob to attack our nation's capital.
Oh my God.
To desecrate our nation's capital. On that day, 140 law enforcement officers were injured. and some died.
What do you care? You want to defund the
And
police?
understand, the former president has been indicted and impeached for exactly that reason. But this is not an isolated situation. Let's remember Charlottesville, where there was a mob of people carrying tiki torches, spewing anti-Semitic hate. And what did the president then at the time say? There were fine people on each side.
Oh, that's what you got?
Let's remember.
That's all you got?
That when it came to the Proud Boys, a militia, the president said, the former president said, stand back and stand by. So for everyone watching who remembers what January 6th was, I say, we don't have to go back. Let's not go back. We're not going back. It's time to turn the page.
No, we're not turning the page.
And if that was a bridge too far for you, well, there is a place.
It's not happening. We're correcting
in
the page.
our campaign for
We're
you.
going to edit this
to
page.
stand for country, to stand
You
for
don't
our
care about our
democracy,
country.
to stand
That's why you allowed
for
the borders
rule
to be
of
open.
law, and to end the chaos, and to end the approach that is about attacking the foundations of our democracy because you don't like the outcome. And be clear on that point. Donald Trump, the candidate, has said in this election there will be a bloodbath if this and the outcome of this election is not to his liking.
That's what she would like, huh? That way
Let's
she
turn
can
the
prosecute
page on
everybody.
this. Let's not go back.
She
Let's
would love
chart
that.
a course for the future and not go backwards to the past.
Let me just follow up here.
Trust me, we're not. We're going forward
It was
without
a different
you.
term, and it was a term that related to energy because they have destroyed our energy business. That was where bloodbath was. Also, on Charlottesville, that story has been, as you would say, debunked. Laura Ingraham, Sean Hannity, Jesse, all of these people, they covered it. If they go an extra sentence, they will see it was perfect. It was debunked in almost every newspaper, but they still bring it up, just like they bring 2025 up. They bring all of this stuff up. I ask you this, you talk about the Capitol. Why are we allowing these millions of people to come through on the southern border? How come she's not doing anything? And I'll tell you what I would do, and I would be very proud to do it. I would say we would both leave this debate right now. I'd like to see her go down to Washington, D.C. during this debate because we're wasting a lot of time. Go down to, because she's been so bad, it's so ridiculous. Go down to Washington, D.C. and let her sign a bill to close up the border because they have the right to do it. They don't need bills. They have the right to do it. The President of the United States, you'll get him out of bed, you'll wake him up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you'll say, come on down to the office, let's sign a bill. If he signs a bill that the border is closed, all he has to do is say it to the Border Patrol, who are phenomenal. If they do that, the border is closed.
Mr.
Those
President,
people are killing many people, unlike J6.
We talked immigration here tonight. I do want to focus on this
how you
next
went
issue
back
of
to
both of
that,
you, because it
'cause that's the
really
main
brings
thing,
us this into focus, truth in these times that we're living in. Mr. President, for 3.5 years after you lost the 2020 election, you repeatedly falsely claimed that you won, many times saying you won in a landslide. In the past couple of weeks leading up to this debate, you have said, quote, you lost by a whisker, that you, quote, didn't quite make it, that you came up a little bit short.
They cheated.
I said that.
Are you now acknowledging that you lost in 2020?
No, I don't acknowledge
because
that
you
at all.
didn't
I
lose.
said
They
that
cheated.
sarcastically.
Doesn't
You know
count.
that.
They cheated.
We said, oh, we lost by a whisker. That was said sarcastically. Look, there's so much proof. All you have to do is look at it. And they should have sent it back to the legislatures for approval.
Bring up
I
Mark
got almost
Zuckerberg,
75 million votes, the most votes any sitting president has ever gotten. I was told if I got 63, which was what I got in 2016, you can't be beaten. The election, people should never be thinking about an election as fraudulent. We need two things. We need walls, and we have to have it. We have to have borders, and we have to have good elections. Our elections are bad. And a lot of these illegal immigrants coming in, they're trying to get them to vote. They can't even speak English. They don't even know what country they're in practically. And these people are trying to get them to vote. And that's why they're allowing them to come into our country.
I did watch all of these pieces of video. I didn't detect the sarcasm, lost by a whisker. We didn't quite make it. And we should just point out here as clarification, and you know this, you and your allies, 60 cases in front of many judges, many of them Republican.
No judge looked at it.
And said
they
there was
said
no
we didn't have
widespread fraud.
standing. That's the other thing. They said we didn't have standing, a technicality. Can you imagine a system where a person in an election doesn't have standing? The President of the United States doesn't have standing. That's how we lost. If you look at the facts, and I'd love to have you'll do a special on it, I'll show you Georgia, and I'll show you Wisconsin, and I'll show you Pennsylvania, and I'll show you. We have so many facts and statistics, but you know what? That doesn't matter, because we have to solve the problem that we have right now. That's old news. And the problem that we have right now is we have a nation in decline, and they have put it into decline. We have a nation that is dying, David.
Mr. President, thank you. Vice President Harris, you heard the president there tonight. He said he didn't say that he lost by whiskers. So he still believes he did not lose the election that was won by President Biden and yourself. But I do want to ask you about something that's come up in the last couple of days. This was a post from President Trump about this upcoming election just weeks away. He said, when I win, those people who cheated, and then he lists donors, voters, election officials, he says will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, which will include long-term prison sentences.
We're going to teach her how to
One
be
of
a
your
real
campaign's
prosecutor.
top lawyers responded saying, we won't let Donald Trump intimidate us. We won't let him suppress the vote. Is that what you believe he's trying to do here?
Donald Trump was fired by 81 million people. So let's be clear about that. And clearly he is having a very difficult time processing that. But we cannot afford to have a president of the United States who attempts, as he did in the past, to upend the will of the voters in a free and fair election. And I'm going to tell you
not
that
free and fair
I
if
have
tech
traveled
was
the world
involved.
as Vice President of the United States, and world leaders are laughing at Donald Trump. I have talked with military leaders,
You mean
some of
at
whom
you
worked with
and
you,
Biden.
and they say you're a disgrace. And when you then talk in this way in a presidential debate and deny what over and over again are court cases you have lost because you did in fact lose that election, it leads one to believe that perhaps we do not have in the candidate to my right the temperament or the ability to not be confused about fact. That's deeply troubling, and the American people deserve better.
I'll give you 1 minute to respond, Mr. President.
Let me just say about world leaders. Viktor Orban, one of the most respected men, they call him a strong man. He's a tough person, smart. Prime Minister of Hungary. They said, why is the whole world blowing up? 3 years ago it wasn't. Why is it blowing up? He said, because you need Trump back as president. They were afraid of him. China was afraid, and I don't like to use the word afraid, but I'm just quoting him. China was afraid of him. North Korea was afraid of him. Look at what's going on with North Korea, by the way. He said Russia was afraid of him. I ended the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, and Biden put it back on day one, but he ended the XL pipeline. The XL pipeline in our country, he ended that. But he let the Russians build a pipeline going all over Europe and heading into Germany, the biggest pipeline in the world. Look, Viktor Orban said it. He said the most respected, most feared person is Donald Trump. We had no problems when Trump was president. But when this weak, pathetic man that you saw at a debate just a few months ago, that if he weren't in that debate, he'd be running instead of her. She got no votes. He got 14 million votes. What you did, you talk about a threat to democracy. He got 14 million votes, and they threw him out of office. And you know what? I'll give you a little secret. He hates her. He can't stand her. But he got 14 million votes. They threw him out. She got 0 votes. And when she ran, she was the first one to leave because she failed.
Yep,
and now
Tulsi
she's running.
destroyed her.
I don't understand it, but
Mr.
I'm
President,
okay with it
Mr.
because
President, your time is
I
up.
think we're
Thank
going to
you.
do very well.
We've got a lot more to get.
Yes, we
Turning
are.
now
We're
to the
winning.
Israel-Hamas war
We're
and the
going to win.
hostages who are still being held, Americans among them. Vice President Harris, in December, you said, quote, Israel has a right to defend itself, but you added, quote, it matters how, saying international humanitarian law must be respected. Israel must do more to protect innocent civilians. You said that 9 months ago. Now an estimated 40,000 Palestinians are dead. Nearly 100 hostages remain. Just last week, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said there's not a deal in the making. President Biden has not been able to break through the stalemate. How would you do it?
Well, let's understand how we got here. On October 7, Hamas, a terrorist organization, slaughtered 1,200 Israelis. Many of them young people who were simply attending a concert. Women were horribly raped. And so absolutely, I said then, I say now, Israel has a right to defend itself. We would. and how it does so matters.
You're not defending yourself
because
now
it
when
is
you're being
also
invaded.
true. Far too many innocent Palestinians have been killed. Children, mothers. What we know is that this war must end. It must end immediately, and the way it will end is we need a ceasefire deal and we need the hostages out. And so we will continue to work around the clock on that. Work around the clock, also understanding that we must chart a course for a two-state solution. And in that solution, there must be security for the Israeli people and Israel, and in equal measure for the Palestinians. But the one thing I will assure you always, I will always give Israel the ability to defend itself, in particular as it relates to Iran and any threat that Iran and its proxies pose to Israel. But we must have a two-state solution where we can rebuild Gaza, where the Palestinians have security, self-determination, and the dignity they so rightly deserve.
President Trump, how would you negotiate with Netanyahu and also Hamas in order to get the hostages out and prevent the killing of more innocent civilians in Gaza?
If I were president, it would have never started. If I were president, Russia would have never, ever, I know Putin very well, he would have never, and there was no threat of it either, by the way, for 4 years, have gone into Ukraine and killed millions of people when you add it up, far worse than people understand what's going on over there. But when she mentions about Israel, all of a sudden, she hates Israel. She wouldn't even meet with Netanyahu when he went to Congress to make a very important speech. She refused to be there because she was at a sorority party of hers. She wanted to go to the sorority party. She hates Israel. If she's president, I believe that Israel will not exist within 2 years from now. And I've been pretty good at predictions, and I hope I'm wrong about that one. She hates Israel. At the same time, in her own way, she hates the Arab population because the whole place is going to get blown up. Arabs, Jewish people, Israel will be gone. It would have never happened. Iran was broke under Donald Trump. Now Iran has $300 billion because they took off all the sanctions that I had. Iran had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah or any of the 28 different spheres of terror. And they are spheres of terror, horrible terror. They had no money. It was a big story, and you know it. You covered it very well, actually. They had no money for terror. They were broke. Now they're a rich nation, and now what they're doing is they're spreading that money around. Look at what's happening with the Houthis and Yemen. Look at what's going on in the Middle East. This would have never happened. I will get that settled and fast, and I'll get the war with Ukraine and Russia ended. If I'm president-elect, I'll get it done before even becoming president.
Vice President Harris, he says you hate Israel.
That's absolutely not true. I have my entire career and life supported Israel and the Israeli people. He knows that. He's trying to, again, divide and distract from the reality, which is it is very well known that Donald Trump is weak and wrong on national security and foreign policy. It is well known that he admires dictators, wants to be a dictator on day one, according to himself. It is well known that he said of Putin that he can do whatever the hell he wants and go into Ukraine. It is well known that he said when Russia went into Ukraine, it was brilliant. It is well known he exchanged love letters with Kim Jong-un. And it is absolutely well known that these dictators and autocrats are rooting for you to be president again because they're so clear. They can manipulate you with flattery and favors. And that is why.
Especially because you're a woman.
So many military leaders who you have worked with have told me you are a disgrace.
We're not about
that is why we understand that we have to have a president who is not consistently weak and wrong on national security, including the importance of upholding and respecting in highest regard our military.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
I think Italy has a woman.
And she's the one that caused it. That's weak on national security by allowing every nation last month for the year, 168 different countries sending people into our country. Their crime rates are way down. Putin endorsed her last week. said, I hope she wins. And I think he meant it, because what he's gotten away with is absolutely incredible. It wouldn't have happened with me. The leaders of other countries think that they're weak and incompetent, and they are. They're grossly incompetent. And I just ask one question. Why does Biden go in and kill the Keystone Pipeline and approve the single biggest deal that Russia's ever made, Nord Stream 2, the biggest pipeline anywhere in the world going to Germany and all over Europe? Because they're weak and they're ineffective. And Biden, by the way, gets paid a lot of money.
Thank you. We have a lot of issues to get to.
We'll be right back with much more of this historic ABC News presidential debate from the National Constitution Center right here in Philadelphia. Back in a moment.
Oh, God, I can't believe this effing C-U-N-T. I don't know if I can say that. Can I say that on
ABC
YouTube?
News presidential
Probably
debate
not.
will continue
I was saying,
after this.
all right, let's. I was saying, like about black. I was saying in Spanish how like this black girl, she doesn't want to be black because she had her hair like super straight, but I said it in Spanish, and the peeps were like, yo, I don't know if you can say that. And I'm like, but I said it in Spanish, so we're gonna have to Google, like we're gonna have to fact check real quick. Can I like roast black women in Spanish? Without, I'm pretty sure I can do it, but whatever. Can you guys find out real quick if I can roast people in Spanish? Let's find out. I need some help here. All right, what y'all saying? LOL, Israel's gonna be fun. Fonechi, how you doing, bro? Thank you for joining in. Yeah, I don't know. She's full of shit talking about Israel. I'm pro-Israel. Shut up. No, you're not. These people are always interrupting Donald. Yeah, bro. ABC, CNN, MSNBC, NBC. All these motherfuckers are left. All of them. All mainstream media except for Fox is left. And Fox is actually owned by Disney. So technically they're left too. But, they're hiring Republicans. So technically, ideologically they're right. But, they're still left because Disney's fucking left. Let me see. What else you saying out here, guys? Benny, I'm putting you out there, bro. Like, I want you to show up as a guest on Sunday. So, like, I need you to be ready at Benny's. Okay? Let me see what else yeah, Mel, you on point, bro. She got 4 years. She had 4 years. She didn't do shit. So, yeah, that's what I don't understand. Like, why are you voting for somebody who's been in this? Like, you've been in the house. You have the power right now. What are you talking about? Oh, I'm going to do something different. Like, then why the hell aren't you telling him to do it now? It doesn't make any sense. And so I am going to have, look, check it out, guys. Now that we're already, like, here. I am going to have somebody who is voting Kamala as a guest possibly this month. So I'm just giving you guys a heads up that I am going to have people that are on the other side. And the reason why I want to do that is because I don't want to seem like an echo chamber. I don't want people that are only on MAGA or whatever you want to call it. So I want all sides, I want Republicans, I want Democrats, I want socialists, I even want commies. Why not? Like, whatever, and everybody, is welcome. That's the type of mentality I'm in. Everybody is welcome. Obviously, I have my views and they have theirs, and we're gonna debate on it, and then y'all decide who has a better view, obviously. But I am just giving you guys a heads up that I will be inviting people that you will probably not agree with, just to see why they think the way they think, just to pick at their brain. And, who knows? Maybe we might disagree on some things. We'll find out. But I just want to give you guys a heads up. Can't let him connect with the audience. Nah, bro, that's not part of the plan. They don't want him to connect with the audience. They want her to look like the one who is this? Raber Vieira. Thank you for joining. She's talking about leader being mocked and not respected. Was she describing Biden? Yeah, I don't know, but I don't know what makes her think that she's gonna be a better leader, because You know, can you imagine her talking to Xi Jinping and Putin and like all these mofos who've been in this game for a long ass time running their countries, and this small little short chick who doesn't know what race she is. She's Indian and she's black or she's whatever. Like, she doesn't know what she is. She's whatever you want her to be, really. She's a chameleon. I don't know. I think she was probably talking about Biden, but yeah, no. She would be a mockery if she were to win. And we're back? Okay. Cool. Let's come back.
Here again, David Muir and Lindsay Davis.
Welcome back to this historic
I
ABC
really don't
News
like the
presidential
shoulder
debate
pad
tonight.
things.
We're going to continue here, and I want to turn to the war in Ukraine. We're now 2.5 years into this conflict. Mr. President, it has been the position of the Biden administration that we must defend Ukraine from Russia, from Vladimir Putin, to defend their sovereignty, their democracy, that it's in America's best interest to do so, arguing that if Putin wins, he may be emboldened to move even further into other countries. You have said you would solve this war in 24 hours. You said so just before the break tonight. How exactly would you do that? And I want to ask you a very simple question tonight. Do you want Ukraine to win this war?
I want the war to stop. I want to save lives that are being people being killed by the millions. It's the millions. It's so much worse than the numbers that you're getting, which are fake numbers. Look, we're in for 250 billion or more, because they don't ask Europe, which is a much bigger beneficiary to getting this thing done than we are. They're in for $150 billion less because Biden and you don't have the courage to ask Europe like I did with NATO. They paid billions and billions, hundreds of billions of dollars when I said, either you pay up or we're not going to protect you anymore. So that's maybe one of the reasons they don't like me as much as they like weak people. But you take a look at what's happening. We're in for 250 to 275 billion. They're into 100 to 150. They should be forced to equalize. With that being said, I want to get the war settled. I know Zelensky very well, and I know Putin very well. I have a good relationship, and they respect your president, okay? They respect me. They don't respect Biden. How would you respect him? Why? For what reason? He hasn't even made a phone call in 2 years to Putin, hasn't spoken to anybody. They don't even try and get it.
I don't think he knows how to use
That
the
is a
phone.
war that's dying to be settled. I will get it settled before I even become president. If I win, when I'm president-elect, and what I'll do is I'll speak to one, I'll speak to the other, I'll get them together. That war would have never happened. And in fact, when I saw Putin after I left, unfortunately left because our country has gone to hell. But after I left, when I saw him building up soldiers, he did it after I left, I said, oh, he must be negotiating. It must be a good, strong point of negotiation. Well, it wasn't, because Biden had no idea how to talk to him. He had no idea how to stop it. And now you have millions of people dead, and it's only getting worse, and it could lead to World War III. Don't kid yourself, David. We're playing with World War III, and we have a president that we don't even know if he's... Where is our president? We don't even know if he's a president.
And just to clarify
they
here...
They threw him out of a campaign like a dog. We don't even know. Is he our president? But we have a president,
Mr. President,
that doesn't know he's alive.
Your time is up. Just to clarify in the question, do you believe it's in the U.S. best interest for Ukraine to win this war, yes or no?
I think it's the U.S. best interest to get this war finished and just get it done.
All right,
negotiate a deal.
It's not about
because
who
we
wins or
have to
loses.
stop all of these human lives from being destroyed.
I want to take this to Vice President Harris. I want to get your thoughts on support for Ukraine in this moment, but also as Commander-in-Chief, if elected, how would you deal with Vladimir Putin, and would it be any different from what we're seeing from President Biden?
Well, first of all, it's important to remind the former president you're not running against Joe Biden, you're running against me. I believe the reason that Donald Trump says that this war would be over within 24 hours is because he would just give it up. And that's not who we are as Americans. Let's
She's
understand
never read
what
The Art of
happened
the
here.
Deal.
I actually met with Zelensky a few days before
That's how
Russia
great of a job you did.
invaded, tried through force to change territorial boundaries, to defy one of the most important international rules and norms, which is the importance of sovereignty and territorial integrity. And I met with President Zelensky. I shared with him American intelligence about how he could defend himself. Days later, I went to NATO's eastern flank. to Poland and Romania.
We need to stop running
And
NATO.
through the work that I and others did, we brought 50 countries together to support Ukraine in its righteous defense. And because of our support, because of the air defense, the ammunition, the artillery, the javelins, the Abrams tanks that we have provided, Ukraine stands as an independent and free country. If Donald Trump were president, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv right now. And understand what that would mean, because Putin's agenda is not just about Ukraine. Understand why the European allies and our NATO allies are so thankful that you are no longer president, and that
That's a lie.
Understand the importance of the greatest military alliance the world has ever known, which is NATO, and what we have done to preserve the ability of Zelensky and the Ukrainians to fight for their independence. Otherwise, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv with his eyes on the rest of Europe, starting with Poland. And why don't you tell the 800,000 Polish Americans right here in Pennsylvania how quickly you would give up for the sake of favor and what you think is a friendship with what is known to be a dictator who would eat you for lunch.
He would have eaten him when he was
thank you.
president.
We've heard from both of you on Ukraine tonight. Afghanistan came up in the last hour. I wanted her to respond to something you said earlier, and please, I'll give you a minute here.
Putin would be sitting in Moscow, and he wouldn't have lost 300,000 men and women, but he would have been sitting in Moscow. Quiet, please. He would have been sitting in Moscow, much happier than he is right now.
That's right.
But eventually, you know, he's got a thing that other people don't have. He's got nuclear weapons. They don't ever talk about that. He's got nuclear weapons. Nobody ever thinks about that. And eventually, maybe he'll use them, and maybe he hasn't been that threatening, but he does have that. Something we don't even like to talk about. Nobody likes to talk about it. But just so you understand, they sent her to negotiate peace before this war started. 3 days later, he went in and he started the war because everything they said was weak and stupid. They said the wrong things. That war should have never started. She was the emissary. They sent her in to negotiate with Zelensky and Putin, and she did. And the war started 3 days later. And that's the kind of talent we have with her. She's worse than Biden. In my opinion, I think he's the worst president in the history of our country.
That's sad.
She goes down as the worst vice president in the history of our country. But let me tell you something. She is a horrible negotiator. They sent her in to negotiate. As soon as they left, Putin did the invasion.
President Trump, thank you. You did bring up
That
something.
is true,
You said she went to negotiate with Vladimir Putin. Vice President Harris, have you ever met Vladimir Putin? Can you clarify tonight?
Yet again, I said it at the beginning of this debate, you're going to hear a bunch of lies coming from this fella. And that is another one.
You too, honey. You're not.
When
You're not
I
a
went
saint.
to meet with President Zelensky, I've now met with him over 5 times. The reality is it has been about standing as America always should, as a leader upholding international rules and norms, as a leader who shows strength, understanding that the alliances we have around the world are dependent on our ability to look out for our friends and not favor our enemies because you adore strongmen instead of caring about democracy. And that
What do you
is
care about
very much what
democracy? You
is
don't know
at
what that
stake
is.
here. The President of the United States
We're a
is
republic,
commander-in-chief. And the American people have a right to rely on a president who understands the significance of America's role and responsibility in terms of ensuring that there is stability and ensuring we stand up for our principles and not sell them for the benefit of personal flattery.
We've talked about Ukraine and Vladimir Putin. I do want to talk about Afghanistan. It came up in the first hour of this debate.
I don't know what she said.
I want to move on to
I tuned her
Afghanistan.
out. I don't know what she
said
said.
Trump did the most amazing thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
He got these countries, the 28 countries at the time, to pay up. He said, I've never seen, he's the head of NATO. He said, I've never seen. For years, we were paying almost all of NATO. We were being ripped off by European nations, both on trade and on NATO.
So socialista no
I
quieren
got
pagar
them
nada.
to pay up by saying one of the statements you made before, if you don't pay, we're not going to protect you. Otherwise, we would have never gotten it. He said it was one of the most incredible jobs that he's ever seen done.
Thank you. I want to turn to Afghanistan. It came up in the first hour of the debate, and we witnessed a poignant moment today on Capitol Hill, honoring the soldiers who died in the chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan. I do want to ask the Vice President, do you believe you bear any responsibility in the way that withdrawal
She's
played
actually
out?
the president. Like,
Well, I will tell you, I agreed with
Everybody knows
President Biden's decision to pull out of Afghanistan. 4 presidents said they would, and Joe Biden did.
Terribly.
And as a result, America's taxpayers are not paying the $300 million a day we were
You're
paying
right,
for
they're
that
paying the
endless
$800
war.
billion
And
on the
as of
climate change
today,
bill.
there is not one member of the United States military who is in active duty in a combat zone in any war zone around the world, the first time this century. But let's understand how we got to where we are. Donald Trump, when he was president, negotiated one of the weakest deals you can imagine. He calls himself a deal maker. Even his national security advisor said it was a weak, terrible deal. And here's how it went down. He bypassed the Afghan government. He negotiated directly with a terrorist organization called the Taliban. The negotiation involved the Taliban getting 5,000 Taliban terrorists released. And get this, and the president at the time invited the Taliban to Camp David, a place of storied significance for us as Americans, a place where we honor the importance of American diplomacy, where we invite and receive respected world leaders. And this former president, as president, invited them to Camp David because he does not, again, appreciate the role and responsibility of the President of the United States to be commander-in-chief with a level of respect. And this gets back to the point of how he has consistently disparaged and demeaned members of our military, fallen soldiers, and the work that we must do to uphold the strength and the respect of the United States of America around the world.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
Didn't even
President
show
Trump,
up
your
to that. What are you
response to her
talking
saying
about,
that you
bro?
began the negotiations
thank
with
you.
the Taliban.
Can you bring up the Golden Families, please? She
If
didn't
you
even show
take a
up
look
to
at
that.
that period of time, the Taliban was killing our soldiers, a lot of them, with snipers. And I got involved with the Taliban because the Taliban was doing the killing. That's the fighting force within Afghanistan. They don't bother doing that because, you know, they deal with the wrong people all the time. But I got involved. And Abdul is the head of the Taliban. He is still the head of the Taliban. And I told Abdul, don't do it anymore. You do it anymore, you're going to have problems. And he said, why do you send me a picture of my house? I said, you're going to have to figure that out, Abdul. And for 18 months, we had nobody killed. We did have an agreement negotiated by Mike Pompeo. It was a very good agreement. The reason it was good, we were getting out. We would have been out faster than them, but we wouldn't have lost the soldiers. We wouldn't have left many Americans behind, and we wouldn't have left $85 billion worth of brand new, beautiful military equipment behind. And just to
Taxpayer
finish,
funded.
they blew it. The agreement said you have to do this, and they didn't do it. They didn't do it. The agreement was terminated by us because they didn't do what they were supposed to do.
I want to move on.
And these people did the worst withdrawal, and in my opinion, the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. And by the way, that's why Russia attacked Ukraine, because they saw how incompetent she and her boss are.
President Trump, thank you. I want to move on now to race and politics in this country. Mr. President, you recently said of Vice President Harris, quote, I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black.
Skin color.
I want to ask a bigger picture question here tonight.
Look at her hair.
Why do you believe it's appropriate to weigh in on the racial identity of your opponent?
I don't, and I don't care. I don't care what she is. I don't care. You make a big deal out of something. I couldn't care less. Whatever she wants to be is okay with me.
But those were your words, so I'm asking.
I don't know. I mean, all I can say is I read where she was not black, that she put out, and I'll say that. And then I read that she was black, and that's okay. Either one was okay with me. That's up to her. That's up to her.
Vice President Harris, your thoughts on this?
I think it's, I mean, honestly, I think it's a tragedy that we have someone who wants to be president
Where is she
who has
black?
consistently, over the course of his career, attempted to use race to divide the American people. You know, I do believe that the vast majority of us know that we have so much more in common than what separates us. And we
Obama
don't
didn't
want
do that.
this kind
Being
of
black.
approach that is just constantly trying to divide us, and especially by race. And let's remember how Donald Trump started. He was land, he owned buildings, and he
Look at
he
the
was
way she said
investigated
that.
because
What
he
a
refused to
Marxist. He
rent
owned land.
property to black
Like,
families.
if that's something you should do.
Let's remember, this is the same individual who took out a full-page ad in the New York Times calling for the execution of 5 young black and Latino boys who were innocent, the Central Park 5. Took out a full-page ad calling for their execution. This is the same individual who spread birther lies about the first black president of the United States. And I think the
He
American
wasn't black.
people
Obama is not black.
want better than that.
His
Want
name
better than
is not what a
this.
black person would call
Want
themselves.
someone who understands, as I do, I travel our country.
Hussein, get out of here, bro.
We see in each other a friend. We see in each other a neighbor.
Oh, yeah.
We
so-
don't
so
want
friendly,
a leader
so-
who is constantly trying to have Americans point their fingers at each other.
No, we don't.
I
We
meet
want to
with
point our
people
fingers
all
at
the
you because
time
you're a fucking liar.
who tell me, can we please just have discourse about how we're going to invest in the aspirations and the ambitions and the dreams of the American people? Knowing that regardless of people's color or the language their grandmother speaks, we all have the same dreams and aspirations and want a president who invests in those, not in hate and division.
Vice President Harris, thank you. Lindsay?
President Trump, this is now your third time.
This is the most divisive presidency in the history of our country. There's never been anything like it. They're destroying our country, and they come up with things like what she just said. Going back many, many years, when a lot of people, including Mayor Bloomberg, agreed with me on the Central Park 5, they admitted, they said, they pled guilty. And I said, well, if they pled guilty, they badly hurt a person, killed a person ultimately. And if they pled guilty, then they pled, we're not guilty. But this is a person that has to stretch back years, 40, 50 years ago, because there's nothing now. I built one of the greatest economies in the history of the world, and I'm going to build it again. It's going to be bigger,
right.
better, and stronger. But they're destroying our economy. They have no idea what a good economy is.
Nope.
Their oil policies, every single policy. And remember this, she is Biden. You know, she's trying to get away from Biden. I don't know the gentleman, she says. She is Biden. The worst inflation we've ever had, a horrible economy because inflation has made it so bad, and she can't get away with that.
Thank you.
Nope.
Time is up,
I
Lindsay.
want to respond to that, though.
No. You don't get to
Briefly.
respond. Get the fuck out.
Clearly,
Shut up.
I am not Joe Biden, and I am certainly not Donald Trump.
You wish you were,
And what
honey.
I do offer
You show
is a new
Marxist ass
generation of leadership
leech.
for our country.
Got
One
it
who
where you are because
believes
you're using
in
your
what is possible. One who brings a sense
punani.
of optimism about what we can do instead of always disparaging the American people. I believe in what we can do to strengthen our small businesses, which is why I
She doesn't
have a
care
plan.
about small
Let's talk
businesses.
about our
She's so full of
plans.
shit.
And let's compare the plans. I have a plan.
Let's compare it.
To give startup businesses $50,000 tax deduction, to pursue their ambitions, their innovation, their ideas, their hard work. I have a plan, $6,000 for young families for the first year of your child's life to help you in that most
How
critical
is that
stage of
helping
your
the
child's
economy?
development.
You're
I
just
have a
giving
plan
freebies
that is
out,
about
you freaking
allowing
commie.
people to be able to pursue what has been fleeting in terms of the American
Bro,
dream by offering
she must have read Karl Marx, bro,
help
because
with down payment of
it's
$25,000
incredible.
down payment assistance for first-time home buyers.
Yeah, who's gonna
That's
pay for that,
the kind of
dumbass?
conversation
We
I
are.
believe, David,
It's the
that
same shit
people
as the
really
freaking
want
loans.
tonight,
It's the same thing.
as opposed to a conversation that is constantly about belittling and name-calling. Let's turn the page
Vice President
and move
Harris,
forward.
thank you.
No,
Let's
we're not
turn to
going to turn the
policy.
page. We're
Let's
going to
turn to
edit the
policy.
shit out of the
President
page.
Trump.
Let's turn to policy,
She has
please.
a plan to defund the police. She has a plan to confiscate everybody's gun.
President
Yep.
Trump,
She
we
has
do
a
have to
plan
move
to
on to
not
other
allow
issues.
fracking in Pennsylvania or anywhere else.
Okay.
That's what her plan is until just recently.
I just need
Lindsay,
to
go ahead.
President
Yep.
Trump, no, the
President
former
Trump-
president has
No,
said
I'm
something
sorry.
She
twice
did nod
that I
her
just
head.
wanted to-
I'm sorry.
She's saying yes, because that's exactly what her plan is. She's a
Trump,
fucking
this is
liar.
your third time running for president. You
She-
have long
bruh.
vowed to repeal and
You're gonna
replace
fucking
the
lose.
Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare. You have failed to accomplish that. You now say you're going to keep Obamacare, quote, unless we can do something much better. Last month,
We
you
need to
said,
destroy
quote, we're
Obamacare.
working on it. So tonight, 9 years after you first started running, do you have a plan, and can you tell us what it is?
Obamacare was lousy health care, always
Yep.
was. It's not very good today. And what I said, that if
worse
we come
today.
up with something, and we are working on things, we're going to do it and we're going to replace it. But remember this, I inherited Obamacare because Democrats wouldn't change it. They wouldn't vote for it. They were unanimous. They wouldn't vote to change it. If they would have done that, we would have had a much better plan than Obamacare. But the Democrats came up, they wouldn't vote for it. I had a choice to make when I was president. Do I save it and make it as good as it can be, never going to be great, or do I let it rot? And I felt I had an obligation, even though politically it would have been good to just let it rot and let it go away. I decided, and I told my people, the top people, and they're very good people. I have a lot of good people in that administration. We read about the bad ones. We had some real bad ones too, and so do they. They have really bad ones. The difference is they don't get rid of them. But let me just explain. I had a choice to make. Do I save it and make it as good as it can be, or do I let it rot? And I saved it. I did the right thing. But it's still never going to be great, and it's too expensive for people. And what we will do is we're looking at different plans. If we can come up with a plan that's going to cost our people, our population, less money and be better health care than Obamacare, then I would absolutely do it.
Hell
But
yeah.
until then, I'd run it as good as it can be run.
Bueno,
just yes or no,
bonito
you still
y
don't have a
barato.
plan.
Dale.
I have concepts of a plan. I'm not president right now. But if we come up with something, I would only change it if we come up with something that's better and less expensive. And there are concepts and options we have to do that. And you'll be hearing about it in the not too distant future.
Vice President
Slay.
Harris, in 2017, you supported Bernie Sanders' proposal to do away
She
with
supported
private
everything
insurance
that
and create
Bernie
a
Sanders said.
government-run healthcare system. 2 years later, you proposed a plan that included a private insurance option. What is your plan today?
Well, first of all, I absolutely support, and over the last 4 years as vice president, private healthcare options. But what we need to do is maintain and grow the Affordable Care Act. But I'll get to that, Lindsay.
Hell
I just need
no,
to respond
we
to
don't need a-
previous
no,
point
we don't need to grow
that
the Affordable
former
Care Act.
president has made.
She's-
I've made
no.
very clear my position on fracking, and then this business about taking everyone's guns away. Tim Walz and I are both gun owners. We're not taking anybody's guns away. So stop with the continuous lying about this stuff.
That's bullshit. She's no
As
gun
it relates
owner.
to the
That's a
Affordable
lie.
Care Act, understand, just look at the history to know where people
Shut
stand.
up.
When Donald Trump was president, 60 times he tried to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. 60 times. I was a senator at the time.
60
when
ain't enough.
I will
He should have
never
done more.
forget the early morning hours when it was up for a vote in the United States Senate. And the late, great John McCain, who you have disparaged as being, you don't like him, you said at the time, because he got caught. He was an American hero. The late, great John McCain, I will never forget that night, walked onto the Senate floor and said, no, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't get rid of the Affordable Care Act. You have no plan. And what the Affordable Care Act has done is eliminate the ability of insurance companies to deny people with pre-existing conditions. I don't have to tell the people watching tonight, you remember what that was like? Remember when an insurance company could deny if a child had asthma?
What are you
if
talking
someone
about,
was a
lady?
breast
With the
cancer
Affordable Care
survivor,
Act, they
if
can
a
still deny you,
grandparent had
and they can tell you,
diabetes?
sorry, we don't cover you
And
anymore.
thankfully,
Bro, you're full of shit. You
as
don't know
I've
what
been
any.
vice
What,
president, and
you don't know
we,
what it
over
is
the
to have
last 4
a
years, have
part of the
strengthened
Affordable Care Act.
Care Act.
You've never had
We have
Obamacare in your
allowed for the
life.
first time Medicare to negotiate drug prices on behalf of you, the American people. Donald Trump said he was going to allow Medicare to negotiate drug prices. He never did. We did. And now we have capped the cost of insulin
That's a lie.
at $35 a month. Since I've been vice president, we have capped the cost of prescription medication for seniors at $2,000 a year. And when I am president, we will do that for all people, understanding that the value I bring to this is that access to health care should be a right and not just a
I
privilege
disagree. It
of
should
those
not
who
be a
can
right.
afford it. And the plan
is privacy,
has to
just
be
like abortion.
to strengthen the Affordable Care Act, not get rid of it.
Vice
Past is
President
prologue
Harris,
in
thank
terms
you.
of where
Healthcare is
Donald
not a
Trump
right.
stands on that.
I want to move
That's
to
a
an
privilege.
issue that's important for a lot
You
of
gotta earn it. So work
Number
for it.
one, John McCain fought Obamacare for 10 years. But it wasn't only him. It were all of the Democrats that kept it going. And you know what? We can do much better than Obamacare, much less money. But she won't improve private insurance for people, private medical insurance. That's another thing she doesn't want to get.
President
People
Trump.
are paying privately for insurance that have worked hard and made money, and they want to have private. She wants everybody to be on government insurance where
Yep.
you wait
She's a
6
freaking
months
Marxist.
for an operation that you need immediately.
President Trump, thank you. We have another issue that we'd like to get to that's important for a number
Bro,
of
fuck these
Americans,
people.
in particular younger voters, and that's climate change. President Trump, with regard to the environment, you say that we have to have clean air and clean water. Vice President Harris, you call climate change an existential threat. The question to you both tonight is, what would you do to fight climate change? And Vice President Harris, we'll start with you. 1 minute for you each.
Well, the former president had said that climate change is a hoax. And
It is.
what we know is that it is very real. You ask anyone
It
who
is
lives
not.
in a state who has
It's been happening
experienced
before you
these
even
extreme
existed.
weather
You're an idiot.
occurrences, who now is either being denied home insurance or it's being jacked up. You ask anybody who has been the victim of what that means in terms of losing their home, having nowhere to go. We know that we
does it
can
have to do with
actually
climate
deal
change?
with this issue. The young people of America care deeply about this issue.
Yeah,
And I am
because they
proud
have
that
nothing
as
else
Vice
to think
President
about.
over
They don't
the
believe in
last
God,
4
so they have to
years,
believe in
we
something
have
else, like
invested
climate
$1
change.
trillion in a clean energy economy, while we have also increased domestic gas production to historic levels.
Yeah, that's
we
why
have
gas is so
created
expensive.
over 800,000 new manufacturing jobs while I have been vice president. We have invested in clean energy to the point that we are opening up factories around the world. Donald Trump said he was going to create manufacturing jobs. He lost manufacturing jobs. And I'm also proud to have the endorsement of the United Auto Workers and Sean Fain, who also know that part of building a clean energy economy includes investing in American-made products, American automobiles. It includes growing what we can do around American manufacturing and opening up auto plants, not closing them like happened under Donald Trump.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
That didn't happen under Donald Trump. Let me just tell you, they lost 10,000 manufacturing jobs this last month. It's going, they're all leaving. They're building big auto plants in Mexico, in many cases owned by China. They're building these massive plants, and they think they're going to sell their cars into the United States because of these people. What they have given to China is unbelievable. But we're not going to let that. We'll put tariffs on those cars so they can't come into our country, because they will kill the United Auto Workers and any auto worker, whether it's in Detroit or South Carolina or any other place. What they've done to business and manufacturing in this country is horrible. We have nothing because they refuse. You know, Biden doesn't go after people because supposedly China paid him millions of dollars. He's afraid to do it. Between him and his son, they get all this money from Ukraine. They get all this money from all of these different countries. And then you wonder, why is he so loyal to this one, that one, Ukraine, China? Why is he? Why did he get $3.5 million from the mayor of Moscow's wife? Why did she pay him $3.5 million? This is a crooked administration, and they're selling our country down the tubes.
President Trump, thank you.
Thank you.
Amen.
We'll be right back with closing statements from both of our candidates. An historic night, this ABC News presidential debate from Philadelphia. Back in a moment.
What? That's it? What time is it?
The ABC News
Talking about closing
presidential debate will
statements? The
continue
fuck?
after
It's
this.
only 10:30. Yo, is it me or is this debate faster than like other debates? Is it me or is this debate faster than other debates? Or is it just me?
I thought they were going to stop at 11.
Like, fucking mean closing statements. That is crazy. Yo, what's going on here, bro? What's going on here? Earth has gone through changes forever. That's what I'm saying, bro. That's what I'm saying. This bitch is crazy. What are you fucking talking about, lady? Talking about climate change is real. Like, yeah, bitch, is change. Like, Yeah, the earth is changing. That is normal. It went through like an ice age. Now it's going through warmth. Like, that's normal. In fact, there was this event that happened. I didn't talk about this on the last live because we had technical difficulties. But there was this volcano eruption that happened 2 years ago. Right? What was it called? Hunka something. I'll talk about it. Hunka Chunka, right? Hunka Chunka. Well, you guys can look it up. But it's literally a freaking volcano that was in the ocean, and it erupted. So imagine, like, if a massive volcano that supposedly the researchers, the scientists say that this was like more intense than like the freaking, what was it called, the Russian hydrogen bomb? What was the Tsar bomb? The Tsar. It was stronger than the freaking Tsar bomb. So this freaking volcano that's stronger than the Tsar bomb goes and explodes. Obviously, all that water vapor that's gonna go into the air, of course it's gonna freaking cause everything to get warmer. No shit, Sherlock. Of course summer is gonna be hotter because of that. Like, the fact that people are like, oh my god, the summers are getting hotter because of global warming. No, you idiot. The summers are getting hotter because they're supposed to get hotter because, unfortunately, we live in an Earth that we don't really understand. We call it Earth, but whatever it is alive, and it's alive and well, and it's been alive for a very long time. It's like an elder that we don't comprehend, and instead of us like trying to spend money trying to fix it, we should just like spend money on research on how to understand it. That's what we need to be doing, not whatever this bitch is trying to do. Like, I did talk about this in the last live. She spent $300 billion on climate change. Okay, I don't understand how money is gonna solve climate change when it's unsolvable. The only thing you can fix is how us as citizens, take care of ourselves and the environment. But to force companies and to force us to fix it, we're one country, dog. We're not like the world. We're one freaking country. Why don't you tell other countries to do something about it too? Why it's just America trying to do everything all by ourselves? And the fact that we have to pay for it is like, why are we paying for this again? Like, this is a world problem. Why are we paying $800 billion? Well, fact check. It's actually $700+ billion. The other $100 billion is for quote unquote inflation, quote unquote. But that's what, like 90% of the investment that we paid for with our taxpayer funding, which we don't actually have because we're in debt. We paid for climate change because we know so much about Earth that we think $700 billion is definitely going to tell Earth, hey, can you like not be so warm next summer? Thanks. Like, it doesn't work like that, but whatever. She claims that, that's going to help anything. That's not, it's going to make everything more expensive, but we'll see, because people think they know what the fuck they're talking about. No problem. We'll see. Time always tells. What's going on here, bro? Let me see. A noise like nails dragging on a chalkboard. Yeah. Smoked her. Yeah, bro. Yeah, where is Biden? That's what I'm saying. I don't know where the hell Biden is, bro. Biden is, chilling. He's like, he's living life right now, bro. He's in a retirement, retirement mindset. Oh shit, we're back. That was fast.
David Muir and Lindsay Davis.
Welcome back tonight. The time has come for closing statements, and Vice President Harris, we begin with you.
So I think you've heard tonight two very different visions for our country. One that is focused on the future, and the other that is focused on the past. And an attempt to take us
focus on the
backward.
past to focus on the future. That's
But
what
we're
we
not
need to do.
going
Yes,
back.
that is correct.
And I do believe that the American people know we all have so much more in common than what separates us. And we can chart a new way forward. And a vision of that includes having a plan, understanding the aspirations, the dreams, the hopes, the ambition of the American people, which is why I intend to create an opportunity economy, investing in small businesses, in new families, in what we can do around protecting seniors, what we can do that is about giving hardworking folks a break and bringing down the cost of living. I believe in what we can do together that is about sustaining America's standing in the world and ensuring that we have the respect that we so rightly deserve, including respecting our military and ensuring we have the most lethal fighting force in the world. I will be a president that will protect our fundamental rights and freedoms, including the right of a woman to make decisions about her own body and not have her government tell her what to do.
Of course, she will
I'll
go
tell
there.
you,
That's all she
I
got.
started my career as a prosecutor. I was a DA, I was an attorney general, a United States senator, and now vice president. I've only had one client, the people. And I'll tell you, as a prosecutor, I never asked a victim or a witness, are you a Republican or a Democrat? The only thing I ever asked them, are you okay? And that's the kind of president we need right
Okay.
now.
Right.
Someone who cares about you and is not putting themselves first. I intend to be a president for all Americans and focus on what we can do over the next 10 and 20 years to build back up our country by investing right now in you, the American people.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump?
So she just started by saying she's going to do this, she's going to do that, she's going to do all these wonderful things. Why hasn't she done it? She's been there for 3.5 years. They've had 3.5 years to fix the border. They've had 3.5 years to create jobs and all the things we talked about. Why hasn't she done it? She should leave right now, go down to that beautiful White House, go to the Capitol, get everyone together and do the things you want to do, but you haven't done it, and you won't do it because you believe in things that the American people don't believe in. You believe in things like we're not going to frack, we're not going to take fossil fuel, we're not going to do things that are going to make this country strong, whether you like it or not. Germany tried that, and within 1 year, they were back to building normal energy plants. We're not ready for it. We can't sacrifice our country for the sake of bad vision. But I just ask one simple question. Why didn't she do it? We're a failing nation. We're a nation that's in serious decline. We're being laughed at all over the world. All over the world, they're laughing. I know the leaders very well. They're coming to see me. They call me. We're laughed at all over the world. They don't understand what happened to us as a nation. We're not a leader. We don't have any idea what's going on. We have wars going on in the Middle East. We have wars going on with Russia and Ukraine. We're going to end up in a third world war, and it'll be a war like no other because of nuclear weapons, the power of weaponry. I rebuilt our entire military. She gave a lot of it away to the Taliban. She gave it to Afghanistan. What these people have done to our country, and maybe toughest of all, is allowing millions of people to come into our country. Many of them are criminals, and they're destroying our country. The worst president, the worst vice president in the history of our country.
President Trump, thank you. And that is our ABC
That was
News
his ending
presidential
statement.
debate from here in Philadelphia at the National Constitution
Bruh.
Center. I'm Lindsay Davis.
And I'm David Muir. Thank you for watching here in the U.S. and all over the world, and from all of us here at
His
ABC
ending
News.
statement was pretty much
Good night.
summarizing what he wanted her to say.
And we are here live on ABC with our post-debate comments. I'm Martha Raddatz. It was a lively debate from the economy to
I don't know about
abortion
lively.
to
I don't know what
Afghanistan.
you're talking about.
They had it all,
That was
and it
not
was
lively.
historic. John Carl,
What do you guys think?
fiery.
You think you guys do you think he should have like been more optimistic, or do you think he should have just been, I mean, are you okay with what he said as his ending statement? Like what do you think? Cuz I think I understand why he said that. He was pretty much saying like this country's going to shit, and if you vote for her it's going to go to more to shit. So vote for me. But he didn't say vote for me because I felt like maybe he thinks that he doesn't have to say that because it's kind of self-explanatory. It's kind of like, look at what everything they've already done. Look at how the country looks right now. Like, what are we doing? You know? But I think a closing with action should have been put on there. And that didn't happen. He should have closed with action and said, you know, after everything he said, and that's why you got to vote for me for president, you know? Well, you know, I don't know. You guys tell me what you guys think, but I'm honestly
Wow.
I don't know. I think it was kind of whack. I think it could have been more fiery, you know. I think what she said, that he will destroy the Constitution, that was wild. I don't know why on earth she would say that. But then again, I do know why she would say that, because, you know, she wants people to assume that he's unconstitutional. But the one who's unconstitutional is her. And the fact that she was like, oh, you know, Roe v. Wade is, you know, for women, and it's not for the federal government to get their hands on like women's rights. And I'm like, that's literally what Roe v. Wade is the federal government deciding that a woman's right to abortion is her right. But this federal government is making that decision, not her or the states. It should be left for her and the state that she's living in. That makes perfect sense. That is logical. That's why it won in the Supreme Court. Like, the fact that she doesn't want to let that go, it's like, okay, so Trump has to let go of the fact that he, quote unquote, lost the election against Biden, but they don't want to let go that they lost Roe v. Wade. Admit that you lost Roe v. Wade, and maybe he'll admit that he lost the election, but you're not going to admit that, so he's not going to admit it either. And to be frank, unlike Roe v. Wade, that was a fair election. Donald Trump was not a fair election, because Mark Zuckerberg admitted that he did collude with the Biden-Harris administration, and he did silence people. He did silence the whole COVID. He did silence the Hunter Biden laptop, which happened during the election and the debates. And Trump brought it up, and they literally said that is not true. And then it comes out later that it is true. So like, that literally shows. Oh, what's up, Mel? You agree? You agree on what? I need you to be more specific. Because when you're live, the stream is kind of delayed. So I need you to, what do you agree on? Talk to me. But yeah, no, I think that they're full of it. If he lost, then fine. I want to know though, if the tech business hadn't gotten involved, would he have lost? They don't have that information because tech was involved. So you can't say that he lost organically because tech was involved. If tech wouldn't have been involved, then he would have lost, and everybody would have been like, all right, fine, he lost. All right, he lost. It is what it is. But tech was involved. So if tech was involved, we're not going to just sit here on our asses and be like, yeah, no, we lost. Like, no, bro, we didn't lose. You cheated. There's a big difference. If you cheated, then that means that you were scared of us winning. So if you're scared of us winning, then obviously we did win. You just didn't want us to actually win. That's why, you know, Biden ended up winning by like more votes than Obama, which that's how you know this is bullshit. Like, you're going to tell me Biden, who didn't campaign, got more votes than Obama? Okay, bro. Sure. What do you think, babe?
That was a shit show.
That's all you got?
Trump definitely won that.
I think he won. Even though
all she could do was like throw insults at him. She could never really like respond to what she was being asked.
no, it was a lot of like filibuster. It was a lot of like, oh, you know, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this. Oh, when I was prosecutor, I did this. Okay, what are you doing now, bro? There's a really good argument that Patrick Bet-David made, where he was like, you know, why do we not know what her schedule looks like? We're paying her salary. We should know what you're doing in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening. We should know everything about you. What is your schedule? We have a right to know what you are doing throughout the entire day, because we are paying for you to live. We're paying for your food. We're paying for your flights. We're paying for everything because you're a freaking leech. So because we're paying for everything, we demand you to tell us, what are you doing throughout the entire day? What are you and Biden doing throughout the entire day? So like the fact that she before this election, before this debate, didn't do not one press conference except for the one with Dana Bash, tells you that She doesn't give a shit about the American people. She's so used to getting money from us that she's like, I don't owe you anything. I don't have to tell you what I'm doing with your money. Doesn't matter. She thinks that she's one of those people who thinks that we work for her instead of the other way around. Even though she's been serving our country since like she got in the workforce, she's been serving our country. People who say that she worked at McDonald's, that's bullshit. She never freaking worked at McDonald's. And I brought that up in my last live. She never worked at McDonald's. There's no proof that she ever worked at McDonald's. So I just want to put that out there. Didn't she say she would pass an executive order to take away guns? Yes, she did. And that's what I'm like, bro, this lady forgets that, like, there's cameras everywhere. And cameras record you. And those recordings stay in the internet. And anybody can go back into archives and repost. Just like they reposted her when she was with this guy. What's this guy's name? Can you look up real quick? This black guy that she was with. Willie Brown. Never mind. So I don't know if you guys know who Willie Brown is. But Willie Brown is the reason why she is where she's at right now. Because she slept with Willie Brown. And Willie Brown's a married man. And I'm kind of, honestly, I would have brought up Willie Brown if I were Donald Trump. But the reason why he didn't is because it would have used it against him. Like, oh my God, can you believe he's a man using that against her? But if it was a woman like Tulsi Gabbard, she would have used Willie Brown. I would have used Willie Brown. Like, I'm sorry. You got here how? Oh, that's right. Willie Brown put you where you are right now. Willie Brown's the reason why you are in the position that you're in right now. He's the reason why you became an attorney general in California. Because you were a whore and you slept with him. And there's pictures of you with him. And you knew he was a married man. And you didn't care. Because at the end of the day, what you care about is status. And I think it's really important for her voters to know about that. Because I don't know why you would want to vote for somebody who is willing to sleep with somebody to get to where she's at. Which means she is willing to do anything to get to where she's at. And that is dangerous. Where is the fact check? Trump says anything and they treat him like he's, yep. She kept making faces and huffing and puffing. Yeah, because this lady, I'm pretty sure they told her to do that. They told her, oh my God, when he says something about you, you're going to go, and you're going to be all like innocent, like, I can't believe he said that about me. Like, bitch, shut up.
We're gonna do this together through unity and love.
Yeah, like we can literally go back to what you've said. Like you can try to huff and puff all you want, but we can go back into the archives. We can go back and look at the receipts, and we can see what you used to say. In fact, Bernie Sanders went on I'm not sure what channel this was on, if it was CNN or Fox or I don't know. He went on somewhere. You know Bernie. She loves Bernie Sanders. He literally said she has not left any of her values. She is just going moderate to get elected. He literally said that on live television, which means she doesn't believe in anything she's saying right now. What she believes in is what she's done in the past. Actions speak louder than words, and people have forgotten that. So I'm excited to have a Kamala voter on my live very soon. It's going to be a very interesting live. Let's see what JD Vance has to say real quick.
We've got the best workers, the most beautiful country, the best natural resources, but Kamala Harris's leadership is squandering the great benefits of this country. It's why we've got to get back to Donald Trump's leadership.
Senator, by the way, I asked because he hadn't been crystal clear and he said something different than what you said. That's why I was seeking clarification. But let me ask you about this just very quickly. I heard Donald Trump before this debate describe Kamala Harris as, I'll just read a few of them, a low IQ individual, somebody who doesn't have the mental capacity to be president, really dumb, unable to put two sentences together. Is that what you saw on the stage tonight?
John, what I saw was a lot of slogans. I think the American people are smart, and Kamala Harris talks to them like they're children. She repeats these ridiculous platitudes where if you actually think about what she said, you realize that it doesn't make any sense. She talks a lot about her plans, but then her plans, when you analyze the substance, don't make any sense. And more importantly, John, the American people don't get fed on plans. She has been the vice president for 3.5 years. What she can't do, refuses to do, and has no ability to do is to say, I accomplished lower prices because she didn't, or I accomplished lower housing prices because she didn't, or I secured the southern border because she didn't do that. She has failed as vice president, and the fundamental question is, do we want to give her a promotion? I think the answer has to be no, John.
Hell
All
yeah.
right, Senator Vance, thank you for joining us. Mary.
One thing both sides can.
Meritocracy. They don't believe in that shit, bro. They don't believe in no meritocracy. They believe in DEI. Diversity.
Looking at a live chat right now about the debate with like over 11,000 people, and they had a little poll like who's winning the presidential debate, and Trump got the most votes.
How much? What was the percentage?
62%.
What's her percentage?
38%.
She shouldn't even have 38%. Who the fuck is voting 38%?
Fucking retards.
You're an idiot. Who the hell? There has to be bots. Who the hell is voting 38%? It should be like 10%. And I'm being nice. Bro, the way she speaks. I kid you not, she speaks like this. Like, what he's saying is, like, bitch, speak with your chest. Talk about, you think you're, like, I don't understand. I don't think she understands what it means to be president. I think she just likes the title of being president. That's why I honestly don't believe that women should be in that power. I'm sorry, but I don't. I love Tulsi Gabbard, but I'm sorry. I just don't like the idea of a woman being in power. That's me. You know, I don't care what people say. I'm not a feminist, so I don't think women should be in power in that sense. I think women should be CEOs, business owners, all that jazz.
Yo, this chat over here is going crazy because people are saying, Kamala Harris, and then you see like a bunch of messages, Trump.
Yeah, dude. Fuck Kamala Harris. Yeah, dude, people are retarded.
Indians for Kamala.
Bro, Indians don't fuck with Kamala. Indians like to make money, and this bitch wants to take your money away. Like, she wants to create a bigger government because that's what Marxists do. That is what Marxists do. They want to create a bigger government. By the way, what did you give me? This is not beer.
Yeah, it is.
This is beer?
Yeah.
That's crazy. This is not tea. Whatever. Doesn't matter. Y'all know what I'm drinking. I'm drinking beer. It doesn't taste like beer, though.
It's like a fruit punch beer.
It doesn't taste like fruit punch.
What does it taste
No,
like?
there's no way that's fruit punch. You know what I thought this was?
What?
I thought this was Hennessy with Coke. That's what it tastes like. I'm like, what the fuck am I drinking? And I'm drinking it like if it's like, I'm here like, bro, I'm gonna get way, I'm not trying to get crunk right now. Y'all want to see me get crunk? No, I'm kidding. Don't say yes, because then I'm gonna have to drink more. Don't say no. Don't say yes, guys.
Why did you say it?
Ignore that. Edit that out. Don't
edit it live.
I know you can't. That's why I decided to go live, because then you can't edit it out. She sounds constipated. Yes, that's exactly. Thank you. I'm like, bro, what is that word? I'm looking for the word. Jesus Christ. Yeah, the only thing I will critique Donald Trump is on the, bruh, close with action, dog. Like, you're a marketer. You should know. You're a freaking sales dude. Close with action, all right? That's it. That's all I got with him. Like, close with action. That's it. With her, she closed with action, but she's just full of shit. I'm sorry. You're full of shit. And with this, like, puppy dog face, like, I care about the people. The people. Shut up. Shut up. You care about the people. That's why the state that you came from, California, bro, if you want California, if you want America, if you want to know what it looks like if she's in power, look at California. That is an example. That is a perfect example right there. Because she was the Attorney General of California. Like she was there. She was in there. And look at where it's at right now. So, I'm sorry. Everything this lady touches dies. It deteriorates because that's what Marxists do. They don't care about small business. She says she cares about small business. That's bullshit. You don't care about small business. That's a lie. If you cared about small business, why are you trying to tax the rich? Everybody knows that everybody who's a true capitalist understands the concept of tax the rich. When you say tax the rich, what you really mean is tax the middle class. And if you tax the middle class, that is the small business owners. And we get screwed over because we are small business owners, Lazaro and I. So like when people like that are talking, it's like, what are you talking about? You've never owned a business in your life. So the fact that you can sit here and say, I care about small businesses because I was raised by a small business owner. Yeah, we're in Canada, a freaking socialist country. Shut up. Shut up. The majority of her life, she was raised in Canada. A big chunk of her life. So, like, I don't and that's another thing people don't understand. You do know she's bringing those Canadian values over here. All that socialist bullshit, ask Canadians how long it takes them to get a freaking MRI scan. It takes them forever to get a fucking MRI scan because they have a socialist medical system. And when you have a socialist medical system, the quality goes down. That is basic economics. If you want cheap shit, guess what? You're going to get cheap shit. That's just how it is. No quality in cheap. That's just how it is. You know, I think it's funny that she says she cares about women, but she doesn't have kids. So it's like, who are you really caring about? Are you caring about women that don't want to have children? Because if you care about women, what about the women that have families? What about them? What about the women that are pro-nuclear family? What about them? Those are the ones that you should give a shit about. Because those are the ones that actually want to create, like, a family, and then that family ends up creating citizens, and like the women that matter the most are the women that want to procreate, not the women who don't want to procreate. So if you're favoring the women that don't want to procreate, like, so what are you favoring? You're not favoring a civilization. Who are you favoring? You're favoring people that don't want to have kids, don't care about a nuclear family. They're all for abortion. I don't even know how that's supposed to, I don't understand how that's a priority, but hey, we'll find out when I have my guest in, I hope that's voting Kamala. We'll find out what her mindset is on abortion. Because I honestly don't understand how that is the biggest priority right now. Doesn't make sense to me. The biggest priority right now should be security and the economy. That's it. Everything else is not a priority. Those are the most, three things. Election integrity, security, and economy. That's it. No, that she knows what a woman is and she changes her opinion every day. Like, yeah, exactly. Like, and the fact that she said something about like that they're not gonna allow people to be able to use that whole IBF or whatever it is. Like, I guess that's like an organization that, I don't know what IBF is. What's IBF? That stands for something. Can you look up IBF real quick? That stands for something. I don't know what that stands for, but I don't understand why she would lie about that. Like, why would you? This is the part that people don't understand. Why would you think Donald Trump would be against that? For people to want to have kids who cannot have kids, who are being helped.
International banking facility?
No, it's not that. No, it's just JK. It's not IBF. It's called something else. I something. It's a freaking, the people that help you get pregnant. They talked about it. Help me out, guys. What is that called? They just talked about it. It's an acronym. I don't know what it stands for though. It's not IBF. It's something else. But there you go. I'm like, it's not IBF. Thank you, Jackie. Thank you. Jackie's in. IVF. Thank you, Jackie, bro. She's the bomb.com. Yes, IVF. I'm like, IBF, that's not it. I'm like, IVF? IVF, yes. that has to do with, yes, fertilization. Yeah. The fact that she said, oh, he would ban it, I'm like, why would you? Es que esas son las cosas que me ponen mal. That's how you know this woman's like mentally retarded. Why would you think that somebody who favors like nuclear families, meaning a woman and a man having a child and raising the child, that's what a nuclear family is. I don't care what anybody else has. That's what a nuclear family is. Why would you think he's gonna ban that? If he wants more nuclear families, dog, are you like dumb? It doesn't. Esas las cosas que me ponen mal de ella. Like, ¿cómo tú vas a decir eso? And then on top of that, she says other shit like, oh, he's gonna ban the Constitution. Oh yeah, because you give so many fucks about the Constitution. That's why you allowed millions of people into the country illegally. Yeah, you. That's. I'm telling you, she is a genius. Yeah, thank you. There's too much information in my head to fucking remember, acronyms. I'm not really good with acronyms. I don't even know what is it called? In vitro fertilization. I'm pretty sure that there's a Z in there, not an S. Sorry, is it fertilization or fertilization? I think there's a Z in there. Whatever. Point is, yeah, what she said, that was a lie. So the fact that she kept telling him, oh, he's lying. No, bitch, you're lying. You're freaking lying. The only thing he did say that I was like, okay, that's not true, is that there's no state that allows you to kill a child after it's been coming out of the womb. That's not true. But what I understood on his end was if she wins, then it can get there. It can totally get there. For sure, no doubt about it. It is what it is. They take your egg and the sperm and fuse it together and place it back in your womb after fertilization. Got it. Okay. Yeah, I'm pretty sure she said that he would ban that. That's a lie. So, I mean, I just don't know why you would go that far, because it doesn't make sense. Like, if you're gonna say shit, it has to make sense. And she says things that are so outlandish that it's like, I can't take you seriously. I cannot take you seriously. That's just me. Everybody has their
exceptions for rape, incest, and
they're just going back up to it. I think the only good clip she got was she got one clip. She got one good clip that actually made me laugh.
What is it?
Forgot what it was, but it made me laugh. She got one, so we'll see how many clips. I mean, the market, at the end of the day, the market decides who wins. But I personally think she played victim. I think that she played the, oh my God, look at how he's a bully. We need to move forward. We need to stop caring about the past. Newsflash, lady, if you don't focus on the past, you're not going to be able to be prepared for the future. And that's a problem with these people. They want us to have like amnesia or something. Like they want us to forget what happened in the past, the way they can manipulate the future. No, bitch, sorry. We need to know what happened in the past, then we can correct it and avoid it happening again. That's what we need to do. And if you're in power, it's gonna be a freaking nightmare. So like, I mean, whatever. To each their own. But I think she lost. Can we do a poll real quick? Is that a thing? Can we do a poll here?
No, we can't.
We can't do polls yet?
I don't think so.
I kind of want to find out if we can do a poll. Is that a thing?
I don't think you can do it yet.
No, we can't do a poll yet. I don't think so. Nah, I don't think we can do a poll yet.
What's a little check mark? Plus sign. What is that?
What?
Little plus sign right there. What is it?
This?
Uh-huh.
Oh, oops.
There you go, poll.
Oh, look at that. We can do a poll.
You keep on clicking.
All right, can you real quick? Let's do a poll. Who do you think won the debate? Kamala or Donald Trump? I vote Trump. I think he did really good. I think he should have been a lot more aggressive, but hey, whatever. That's just me. The only critique I have of him is that he should have closed with action. That's it. That's all I got. And that he shouldn't have said that you can abort after birth, because that's not true. At least as of right now, you can't do that. Maybe if she wins, that'll be a possibility. But as of right now, that is not a fact. So let's find out, guys. Who do you think won the debate? I want to know from you guys. What do y'all think? Kamala la mala. Que mala eres. Que mala eres, Kamala. Oh, shit. No, they definitely, I agree with you, Jackie. They definitely didn't talk enough about policies, but that's because ABC is a piece of shit, and that's just how it is when it comes. That's why I didn't want the debate. The debates need to stop being done by mainstream media, and it should be done by freaking independents. Like, I don't know.
There's a lot of trash talking.
Like, the Young Turks, who have, like, I mean, I don't agree with the Young Turks at all. But I would like for them to moderate it. The Young Turks, Patrick Bet-David, I would love Patrick Bet-David to be there moderating that. But shit, Joe Rogan, that'd be dope if Joe Rogan was in there. You know, I don't know. People that are independent podcasters, that'd be cool. You know, or Dave Smith, he's a libertarian. That'd be cool. You know, we could have a Democrat type of channel like the Young Turks or David Pacman, a libertarian like David Smith, and then more of a righty like Patrick Bet-David. Even though Patrick Bet-David is an independent, but you know, we all know he's centered right. Yeah, of course. I mean, it's a big mainstream media is funded by big pharma, so you know they have to be the ones to control the debates. It's been like that for years and years and years, but I don't think it's gonna be like that for long. I think mainstream media is dying out. They're losing a lot of viewers. I mean, look at you guys. You guys, instead of going to ABC, you guys came to watch it through me watching ABC. So this is a perfect example of the mainstream media losing views. You know how many people live streamed this debate that ABC News did not get those views? Other people took them. Patrick Bet-David did a live stream. The Young Turks did a live stream. Who else did I see that did a live stream? Steven Crowder did a live stream. There were so many people that were doing a live stream of this debate, taking the views from ABC, which shows you that mainstream media doesn't have the chokehold they had before, because that generation of mainstream media is technically dead or dying, unfortunately. That's just, I mean, as messed up as that sounds, it's just how it is. We're not going to live forever. So mainstream media eventually is going to die. I mean, look at how many people were in mainstream media and left mainstream media, or, well, got fired from mainstream media and now made their own thing. And now they're making way more money than they were in mainstream media, you know. And I'm talking about, you know, the big guys like Tucker Carlson and Megyn Kelly and O'Reilly. I can't think of anybody else right now because, John Lemon, but Don Lemon, not John Lemon. Don Lemon, but I don't fucking like him. Even though there are many people who listen to podcasts, more people would watch the mainstream. Patrick Bet-David is independent. Yeah, Patrick Bet-David is independent, but he's like me. He's a centered right. You know, he's independent, but he votes Republican. You know. Yeah, he's right. He's said it before. He's independent, but he votes right. So, what else? Even though there are many people who listen to podcasts, more people would watch mainstream. Yeah, but that's not gonna last forever. Mainstream media is gonna die. I give it another. I don't even think they have another decade. In less than 10 years, mainstream media will no longer. I don't think they're gonna exist, or they're not gonna be what they used to be. Shit. If there's a president that comes in and says, "Hey, sorry, you can't take any more money from Big Pharma to fund your news outlets," that's it for mainstream media. The majority of their income comes from Big Pharma. So if that gets cut, that's it. It's a wrap for for mainstream media and big pharma, because you know they make money that way. I mean, think about it. The mainstream media is being used by boomers, and boomers are hooked on pharmaceuticals. So it's perfect for them. But if you cut that out, then that's it. It's over. People who watch the mainstream don't vote. I mean, they do. They just, you know, they're biased, I guess you can say. They're biased. I don't know, man. This debate could have been a lot more. It could have been a lot more. I'm kind of disappointed, you know. The debate with Hillary Clinton was like more intense. But at the same time, I'm kind of glad that the mics were muted for a reason. So, you know, he knew what he was doing there. She didn't want the mics to be muted. She wanted the mics to be hot. She wanted unmuted mics. And you saw how many times that she was interrupting. And thank God the mics were muted. That way she didn't actually interrupt him. But still, he had to tell her to be quiet. Oh, man, that was good. She was like, can you be quiet, please? Oh, that's how I know I can't be a president. I would have been like, shut up. God, I'm talking. Didn't your mother ever tell you to stop talking when other people were talking? I would have done some shit like that. That's why I can't be president. No, I'm kidding. It's because I wasn't born here. I'm a legal immigrant, unlike the people that have came in through the border. Good night, Jackie. I love you. All right, guys. Thank you guys so much. I'm actually going to sleep too because I realize it is 18 p.m. So I'm glad that Jackie reminded me that I actually need to sleep. But thank you guys for joining. If you haven't done the poll yet, do the poll. I will be doing a live on Sunday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Love you guys. See you soon. Peace.